Let's head over here. Haha. New layout. Welcome, everybody. This is indeed the Saber Slay Anime Fray Fall 2024 podcast. And if you were not here when we selected shows for the season, things are very different and you're probably confused. And if you were here, things are still very different and you're probably confused. And if you're new, things are always different and you're definitely confused. So welcome. Um, I'll do the brief rundown quick of what it is we do. We have selected 11 shows, not 12, 11 this time. Each of us has picked 2 shows, and then we arbitrarily put shows on a wheel, spun a wheel, and decided what the 11th show was going to be. So Mason has a 3rd show, but technically it's the wheel show. So if Hagakure wins this season, I'll give Nathan the role of anime king. We'll just, I'll take that L. You're right. I'll give it to Alex. We can be satisfied with that one. No, Mason, you're not getting it if Hagakure wins. It's just,
I'll say we give it to Dylan and take no exceptions.
We'll add a bot. We'll get like a wheel spinning bot for the Discord server, and we'll give the role to it.
Just give it to Amber.
True. Yeah, we could do that. Oh, Cody. I mean, you live with Cody. It might make more sense to give it to Cody.
Everybody people in here just
Mason, I think is the goal.
Funny.
But structure of the show, we have watched the first 3 episodes of all 11 of our shows. That's right, for a total of, can you do the math, 33 episodes of anime. If you did it right, I hope you all did it right. And we have individually all ranked the shows from 1 to 11 based on our thoughts on the first 3 episodes. We're going to go through each show. Everybody's going to talk about their shows in an order. It's going to go John. It's then going to go Michael, then Austin, then Mason, then me. Not the order we are on stream. Also not the order we are in Discord. It's very funny, but that's the order we picked the shows, so that's how we're going to do it. And then we rotate back through for our second show, and then we end on Mason. Because he's special, and we love him. And so then after we kind of run through what happened in the first 3 episodes of the show, which we're going to try to keep a little concise when we can. Some of these shows we're not going to be able to. Then we're going to go into conversation. We're going to go back. We're going to talk about the show, everybody's thoughts on it. And then when we get to the very end of that process, I have a nice little Google survey that I send out where everybody gets to vote to either save or slay a show, and the show with the most slays gets removed from the podcast. Now, you might be wondering what happens if there's a tie. Do we revote? No, that would be silly. We send it to the wheel to let fate decide, because that is how this podcast works. So, there are going to be spoilers for our shows at large. Those are, let's see if I can do it, Don to Don, Sumo Show, Blue Box, Mecha Ude, Let This Grieving Soul Retire, Do Over Damsel, All Guys Mixer, Orb, On the Movements of Earth, Yakuza Fiance, Negative Positive Angler, and Hagakure. There we go. I did it in the right order. We didn't fuck it up. Let's go.
I'm proud of you.
Least scuffed first episode
would not have known
ever.
the order. That's crazy.
Did that. Yeah, Grieving Soul would have confused you because it should.
I would have forgot. I probably would have forgotten about Do Over Damsel.
I had to be like, what was John's second show? And it's funny. I like that show. We'll talk about it. But so there's gonna be spoilers for those. There's gonna be some harsh language, and despite the fact that our names are on screen, we're going to do a quick little introduction because it's the first episode of the season, so we're going to run through the cast we have. John, tell us who you are, what you do, things you like.
Hi, I'm John. I play League of Legends, which is unfortunate. I like One Piece. It's good. It's peak. I am the resident slice of life expert of this podcast. However, we have introduced
No, you're the resident romance expert.
Austin
That's
here.
The difference.
So you're the resident PA works person. That's the difference. I have my lovely fiance over there who has the Asuka plushie right there that I grabbed by its hair last week at round 1. I like claw machines. I like video games. I play Pokemon, not as well as Austin apparently, or our friend Parker, but I do play Pokemon as well. Hence the haunts here as well on my desk. But yeah, that's kind of it.
Mike, would you like to introduce who's on your bed?
Also, this is Laboon.
Yeah, so it doesn't. I don't really matter. That's
He's
Winnie.
a friend.
She's
Dog. We give
I don't know
we give the award to the dog. That's the answer.
I don't know what she's doing.
She's being a dog.
She's doing dog things.
Michael, who are you though?
And I'm a watcher of anime, player of video games, maker of bad decisions sometimes. I've spent too much money on video games.
It's a
But
bad month.
that's
It's a bad month to be a video game fan.
but see, I normally play a lot of games. Play like little bits and pieces of a bunch of different games. The past 2 weeks, I think I've loaded up probably like 4 different games on Steam. Most of them for approximately 30 minutes. For 70 hours, it was Call of Duty. Call of Duty Black Ops 6 is a good video game. That's what I've been doing.
We'll break order for a second. Mason, introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Mason. I watch like everything when it comes to anime. I play a lot of different video games. I play a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh, and I'm generally like the card game guy here. Sean knows Yu-Gi-Oh, but I know like the rest of them.
Hey, let's be fair. We split it down the line. You get Magic, we both have Yu-Gi-Oh. You play like the other silly ones, like maybe One Piece and Dragon Ball. But like, do you own ancient copies of the Harry Potter card game, like, or the original Dragon Ball Z card game, or the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle card game? And let's be fair, I'm the Card Fight Vanguard expert, despite never having played a second of that game in my life. I was also master ranked in Eternal. I'm the only person who knows what that card game is. And if someone else knows what that card game is, it's my fault.
No, it's not. So I actually played Eternal before I met you.
Good. It's a good game. Maybe not anymore. Hard to say. I did dive back in, but it's complicated. Mason, anything else?
Great. I feel like there's something I was going to say, but I don't remember. Oh, I also play TFT, so better than League, at least.
And of course,
Also watch Arcane. PSA, go watch Arcane. Season 2 is out now. Watch the first 3 episodes of Arcane. That's all I'm going to say about Arcane, but you should watch Arcane.
Fair. And then Austin.
Yeah, I was going to say Austin.
Hi, I'm Austin. I am the newest addition to the podcast. I play a lot of Pokemon. I've been playing a lot of Rivals of Aether 2 in the past 2 weeks.
So once I get it, we're
Throwing hands.
We're throwing hands.
Throwing hands and
I'll
rocks
play more of that
pie-based.
game eventually.
It's a good game.
It is really good. Sadly, Call of Duty exists.
True, also true. I like slice of life romance anime. I am the resident source material light novel reader. Before I joined the podcast, I was John and Mason's informants before they drafted shows each season. And now they don't get that, so
Nope, it's lame.
Yeah, crazy. I want to make it known that we have a bad track record on this podcast of letting someone come onto the podcast and then giving them the world's most stellar fucking show draft I've ever seen. Guys, we gotta not. Oh boy, we'll talk about it. And then, of course, I am Sean. I have been here for far too long. I started this podcast in 2018 when it wasn't a podcast. It was just a thing we did. And then we took a 2-year break because turned out we couldn't do it. And then I made it an actual podcast. And we've been doing it ever since. Technically, it might have only been a year break. I don't remember if I kicked back off in 2020 or 2019. It's tough to. It might have been 2019. That's what's scary. But we've been doing this for a long time. I'm a resident fantasy junkie. In the worst way possible. That isn't going to show at all on this podcast, surely. In addition to that, we should never have gotten me to start reading manga. It was a mistake. Someone pulled me out. I'm in too deep. I think I did the updated
I
list.
see no problem with this.
I think I did the updated list, and I'm actively reading somewhere upwards of 40-some manga right now. I also, in the span of like 3.5 weeks, read all of Bleach. So we're having a time. I don't know if John knew that. I don't know if I mentioned that I read and finished all of Bleach in roughly less than a month. All I'll say on that before we kick it into the podcast, because that'll be the one thing I talk about. It is hard to say that I finished a lot of shonen battle manga. But of the shonen battle mangas I finished, Bleach is so far my favorite. It will obviously have competition one day when One Piece ends. And maybe in 2 years when Black Clover ends. That's my ballpark estimation on that one. We'll see about that. I just realized we are like 5 days away from new chapters of Black Clover. I'm
Let's
excited.
fucking go.
I'm so
Yeah, so it's like, so we get like 3 chapters.
We're gonna
2 or 3
get we're gonna
chapters
get
3
one
times
we're
a
gonna
year.
get one whole fight. We're gonna get one
Yeah,
whole fight.
we're gonna get the
and
next
I can
fight.
and I can tell you which one it's gonna be.
Yeah, it's like not like they show it right.
Darkness. No, we don't know what the next fight is.
I'm trying to remember.
The last
how-
panel we landed on was the family shot.
Oh,
We don't know
Oh.
jack
oh no,
shit where we're
they
going.
did. They said in the announcement though. I'm pretty sure what fight we're following. Them.
Oh, I didn't see that. I just assumed we're following Yami.
Yeah, I was pretty sure.
We don't have a lot left. But with that in mind, as I mentioned earlier, there is a thing we do, and that is we have a power ranking. Why did you open to this folder? That's no good. Here, guys. There it is. And just because I always do, we'll punch the spoiler for you guys, and we'll move on over to our PR ranking. If you missed all the orange, don't worry, it's back. It's here on the PR ranking screen. So how this
Sean?
works... Mm-hmm.
I sent you a message and you didn't read it. That is not my power ranking.
Oh.
You edited
Cut the
it.
tape,
How
cut the
is it
tape, cut the
not-
tape.
how
Cut
is
the
it
tape.
not
Restart,
your power
restart.
ranking?
While they're arguing
You
and
said
bickering, guys,
I
you
changed my power ranking, just so you're aware, and the message says edited, and that is. Hold on.
you guys want a fun fact? So remember how I messaged you guys last week when I was like, "Hey, should I buy the Laboon plushie or some Gear 4 figures from One Piece?" Right? And I picked Laboon, but then I caved, and I also bought the Gear 4 figures because I have a problem, and it's called spending money.
I'm stupid. I read Austin's because I'm so used to mine being on the far right.
Okay, I was gonna say
Okay.
let's not throw too. I
Gear's bound, man.
I have been known to make
I'm so
mistakes.
sorry.
However,
I'm
I was
so
so
sorry.
confident I got it right. John, the
Understand,
best
my favorite part
John,
about
the best
bound
part
now.
is you did that, and I'm still on the PR ranking screen for the viewers.
Yeah, no, I'm doing that for you guys,
That's
not
for
the-
us.
not for viewers. They don't get to see One Piece spoilers.
So how this PR ranking breaks down is it gets split into sections based on how many shows are left. Since we're starting with 11, the section breakdown is 3, 4, 4. And what I do sometimes incorrectly is I go and bold any occurrence of a show that is unique on someone's list. So a time that a show is not, if a show is not in someone else's section, someone has it uniquely there. That should be what the bolds are. I think those are right. I'm pretty sure those are right. I know
In
Michael
theory, we
and
should have
I.
less bolts now.
Yeah, I know Michael and I
More
have no
substantial.
bolds because Michael and I have the exact same set of shows in the exact same sections.
I have as many bolds as the rest of you combined.
Yeah, it's bound to happen. We have some interesting things we'll get into talking about, but let's head on over for our first show. John, talk to us. Have fun with this about Dawn
So,
to Dawn.
It's very simple show. Very simple, guys. Very
Yeah.
easy to
It actually
understand.
kind of is.
So you got your guy character. This is Ken. You got your female character. You have Momo. Momo believes in UFO. Nope. He believes in curses, and Ken believes in UFOs and aliens and stuff. And they're like, effectively, they run into each other through a chance meeting where he's like, "Hey, you were nice to me once. I'm gonna attach to you with my whole being," and it works. To which he's like, "Listen, you're so fucking stupid for believing in curses." And she's like, "No, you're so fucking stupid for believing about aliens." And so they basically make a bet, and they're like, "Okay, you go to this cursed place, and I'll go to that alien place, and we're gonna talk on our phone and see who finds what first." Right? Turns out they both exist. And we run into our first curse, which their name is Turbo Granny, who wants his penis. And steals his penis and curses him. And then Momo gets abducted by aliens who are all the same sex because they've lost their reproductive organs and go, "Ooh, we want your entire uterus so we can reproduce." And then you have Ken who comes through the phone because he's cursed to help protect Momo, but he can't do it. But then she awakens her telekinetic like powers. And they end up defeating the aliens. However, he's still cursed by Turbo Granny, which is a problem. And so the only thing they think they can do is they go to the shrine where her grandma lives, who is a medium, who she's got bad relations with, because she's like, there's no way curses exist, because that's weird, because kids bullied me. And then they run into this sumo alien, I think is what it's determined to be. It's an alien. And end up defeating that before Ayase finally passes out, which is a problem, because Ken is still cursed, and the only thing keeping it under control was her telekinetic powers. And then Granny shows up and beats the shit out of Ken, who is possessed by Turbo Granny, and locks him in a cupboard to keep him safe. And then she's like, okay, easy problem. You just got to beat Turbo Granny. You just train, and you'll be fine. Then Turbo Granny goes, fuck that shit. You fight me tonight, or I kill everybody. Problem solved. And that's kind of where we leave off.
Mhm.
The show's kind of it's kind of all over the place. I like it. Also the whole reason why Ayase is into Ken is she's like, I just need my Ken Takakura in my life. I need that boy in my life, my dream guy. And then she finds out, so what's your full name? He's like, oh, my name is Ken Takakura. And she's like, shut the fuck up, die.
Your name's not Ken anymore.
Your name is no longer Ken.
Yeah, it's Okarun.
But so she calls him Okarun instead. But these two's chemistry alone is why I put this number one, because they are fucking amazing together. Every interaction they have with each other, like that. Obviously, the animation in the show is insane because it's produced by Science Saru, who like have only produced absolute batshit shows basically, and they're always bangers. It feels like, but yeah, I've been enjoying this so far. It's good. What do you think of Dun 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 Dun? Also, the OP by Creepy Nuts is fucking S tier. It's on the playlist. It made the playlist
As
day
always.
one. It wasn't even by me. It was by her. She put it on the playlist. But yeah,
but
shit's
it's
good.
not on there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, John, it was really weird to listen to you do this recap and call him Ken. It's the strangest feeling.
I know because I
Yeah,
call him
he's
Okarun the
Okarun.
entire
Yeah, he's
time.
Okarun.
But
That's his name now. He's
I haven't
legally
watched
not
this
allowed
in,
to
like,
call it anything
3
else.
weeks. So listen,
It's fair.
I watched this one like first, and that was literally like 2.5, 3 weeks ago. So
At like 3 in the morning.
when I was just running through like 6, 7 shows at once.
I will say something. I mean, so we have a Donna top 3, all of us. It's just a matter of where it falls. There's not too much to like. You know, animation quality, show quality, insane. The fight scenes in episode 1, but predominantly episode 2, rad as hell. Okarun's form shift is so rad. This is cool.
I like the variance of it, like the different
yeah.
degrees to which he's doing it.
He just turns into Shikamaru. It's right now. That's all he does. By the way, if you haven't listened to the dubs, this dub's also pretty good. I believe this is
what I
simul dub,
heard.
so you could listen to it.
Give me your banana.
Yeah. Only kind of things that largely put it not number 1 for me. Episode 3 to me was not as like super go push to the metal as 1 and 2 were. I just didn't think it hit as high of a high, which I mean it's still fucking incredible show. But like to me, episode 3 was like a little slower paced. And I didn't dig every kind of interaction we got, especially with her grandmother. But outside that, like the only other thing I have to say about
Grandmother.
Don, that is like, yeah, she is her grandmother. You just gotta deal with that fact. The only other thing for me is that, boy, does she get her shit kicked in episode 2 and is totally fine by the end of it. And you know what? It's Donna and it's Science Saru, so like my level of letting things go is already skyrocketed. So it's not gonna bother me too much. But I could understand someone watching that and going, "There's no fucking way she's okay after that."
Nah, psychic powers.
So,
Psycho power.
yeah. So, just I will say, as someone who has read the first 17 chapters of the manga, these first 3 episodes are entirely just 1-to-1, just straight up. This is just the manga so far, which is really nice. It is such a faithful adaptation. It's really cool to see.
Yeah, I've been reading this manga since like chapter 1 dropped. and it's like really cool to see how like faithful of an adaptation it is, but also just like seeing people's reaction, because I watched this with John and his fiance, and they had no idea, anything about it, and hearing their reactions while I was admittedly quite inebriated was just time of my life, gotta say.
I played this for 5 or 6 of my friends in an Airbnb cabin on the Airbnb's Netflix account, which is gonna be great for the
Oh.
people who use it after us. And notoriously, my group of friends sometimes has some interesting opinions on anime. So it was really impressive that I don't think there was a single one of them who wound up not liking it, and we watched the first 2 episodes when we were there. So like, if you can get those people to like this show, like you would think this show has a barrier of entry, especially with the alien abduction scene in episode 1. But in all honesty, the show's fucking weird enough that it kind of gets to skirt by it.
Yeah, the show's really good. I don't know everyone's opinions on the episode 1 thing. Going out of episode 1, I certainly was like, if this show, because I've read part of this manga, but I don't remember much of it. Or I was like, if this show doesn't like turn everything around, this is going flat number 11. That scene was hard to get through. I understand it's supposed to be, but I think the show does a lot with episodes 2 and 3 to kind of pull very far away from that.
Yeah.
So I think it does remedy that, and I don't imagine they're gonna do anything vaguely similar to it. At least I sure hope they.
Well, there's the
don't.
bathroom scene that's gonna happen eventually, which is very different, but also a thing that people could be like meh about. And I just know that panel because that panel just goes around.
But yeah, it's a fucking fantastic show. Looks great. These two have great chemistry together. Her grandma's an absolute bonkers character.
We almost slip in the Ocean of Ko for a little bit. It's fine. Everything's fine.
But yeah,
I think Momo's a great
Show's
character.
good.
Wonderful female lead. And unfortunately, perhaps too much better than Okarun right now. I think for me, long run for this show, I need him to grow a little more. He's the perfect character for what they want him to be right now, but I don't know how long I can have him be this for like the run of the show. Which I know this is still an ongoing manga, so you know what? I might not get that, but I'm hoping the little things are gonna move him. He has good moments though. He's not like a horrible, male MC. I've been through worse.
Is this going to be a 1 core or 2?
As of right now, it's 1 core, I believe.
Hmm.
Uh,
I have to imagine it's going to
which
be
show?
another season, if not another core, within the next year.
This is slated for 12 right now.
Dandadan's got 12. I think Blue Box is 25.
As
And
is
then
Orb.
I think that's the only one.
Nope, Orb
Oh,
is
is
as
it?
well.
Oh yeah, Orb is 25. Which makes sense.
Yeah, that we know of. There's a couple
Orb
we don't
certainly
have.
seems like it's going to need the 25.
There's a couple we
that's a good
don't have the numbers for yet. But I imagine most will be clocking. Usually, if you don't know by now, they're not gonna be 24. Is the catch.
Blue Lock is 14. ReZero is gonna be 16.
Hagakure is
What is this
13.
nonsense?
If
Okay,
we-
like 13 is like a normal amount.
I used to think that, but now I'm not so sure. We're kind of going the wayside with it. 11
12 and
tw-
13 are both.
11 and
they're both-
12 are more common recently, I feel like, than 13 is. 13 feels like you have to be special to get it.
It's been
What's-
pretty, like,
What's been 11 like?
A
Recently?
bunch of our stuff last season was
Because
11.
Shoshiman was 10, and that was weird for it to be 10. Grieving Soul is 13. Arifureta is 16.
I don't remember. I was looking at something. I just swore a bunch of stuff was 11 more recently, but I could be misremembering. I might be misremembering. But yeah. Any additional thoughts about Danadon besides the fact that this shit slaps?
Give me more action. Shit's wild. Next episode's probably gonna be bad shit too by how it's set up. But yeah. Give me more.
Okay. Well
So
then,
good.
next up, Michael, you are at the plate. Sumo Show.
Oh boy.
I'm gonna flash to the PR real quick, just so people can
Yeah.
see Michael's PR for Sumo Show as we get ready to
So-
talk about this. I'm so excited.
Sumo Show. I'm not gonna say it's English title because I don't feel like saying English. One, because it's really long, and two, because I don't like it.
It's on the screen if they need to know it.
Yeah. So Sumo Show is a story about a family of three, that becomes a family of two. The wife, dies. I don't remember exactly what it's. Is it an accident or whatever?
Car
I
accident.
think it's a
Yeah,
car accident.
Yeah, it's like a car
Sounds
accident. So she passes, and we kind of time skip forward 10 years or something like that.
Yep, I think that's right.
And we see that the husband and his daughter have not grown past it at all. They are still grieving for her, which fair, that is a thing you do. And one night, a girl shows up at their house, claiming to be his wife. This is a like 10-year-old girl in elementary school, hence the English title. And so we learn in this first episode that she was just a girl. She grew up normally. Then like 2 days before that, randomly all of these memories came flooding back to her of a previous life, the one where she was his wife. And she kind of gets inserted back into their life. And the story then follows the two of them growing happier, having the wife with them.
56.
The issue that I have with this show is I think she's fantastic. She is a episode 2 follows more of them just doing stuff. I think it also episode 2 introduces
Her
the
family.
family
stuff.
life of her family life, which is fucked up to say the least. She does not have a father. I believe it's just parents separated. And her mom is the worst person possibly ever. Not ever. There's bad people in anime. But she's a terrible mother. And also within in episode 3 is more of them hanging up this. I think 3 is the fireworks festival.
Yeah, it's also a bit of
Oh.
the daughter's job.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We also get the daughter. That was adorable. I love the stuff with the daughter stuff. That was really great. Her and the daughter, I think, are really solid characters, and I think the father, most of the time, is really good. Like his stuff with his work colleague, I think that's adorable. I love that they're setting up for him to possibly find another person because that's a thing you kind of need in these. So you need to fill in that slot. My issues with this show is that as much as I love so much of it, every time I think about it, I think of the father being a fucking dumbass. Every 13 goddamn seconds shouting to the world that this child is my wife. And I'm like, sir, you can't just do that. And like, it was funny the first 2 times he did it, maybe. By the 70th, I wasn't a big fan of that bit. And it just feels like they do it so fucking much. God, do I wish that bit didn't exist. Because it's realistically not actually as prominent as I think I said it is. But because it happens, it stands out so much because of how bad those scenes are where it happens. Because they feel so tonally out of whatever's happening every time it happens. Like there's so many the moment where she's on the wife is there. She's like I need to cut this off with them because this is going to ruin my personal life. It's also I need to let them still grow. It's like that one where she's like crying in the bath, like that whole scene, fucking fantastic. And then you cut like 5 minutes later, and then he's shouting some fucking nonsense.
You'd think by like, the third time you like say
Tone it down
something
a bit.
stupid, then you think, hey, this is kind of weird that I'm calling a child my wife. Like some social awareness here, please.
Yeah, and
I agree.
give the show some credit, a little of it. She's acutely aware of the problem. She's acutely aware of it. She's trying to make him realize that this could literally ruin his entire life if he doesn't fucking stop. But the problem comes with it, and this is to me like my hesitation with the show, is I feel like lots of good progress for these characters is made. A conflict rises in episode 3 that I don't think is a bad conflict. The idea of the daughter getting upset about a potential new female figure being in her father's life is a real thing. And her being as young as she is compared to, we don't know, but she is clearly a decent amount younger than him, is also a thing to maybe talk about. But the marriage bond at the end of the episode feels like we walk everything back. Everybody's like, we realize where we are, we realize what we can and can't do, like there are restrictions to this. It takes the show feeling like it's built, and we're only 3 episodes in, like I get that this is the central core of the show. But it takes what felt like the show going, everybody is starting to realize that like the time we have together in this situation is limited and we should get the most out of it and grow, to no, let's hold on to this for as long as physically possible. And I don't like that backpedal too much.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also not the biggest fan of the show's seemingly hard writing the coworker out of a love interest. I know there's an age gap there between him and her. They're adults. I'm not too worried about that one. Like, I think it feels like the show basically hard confirms in episode 3 it's never going to go anywhere. So don't even worry about it. Which is unfortunate because I think that would be a very interesting thing to explore. But I also don't hate the concept of just having a friend you can rely on who's older and you work with. It's just, it feels like it feels like it sets up things and then it just hard shuts it down as like a romance thing. I think that's generally my thoughts on Zuma Show. I don't have too much else. I don't think it's horrible.
Yeah, I'm gonna pair some of your guys' thoughts here too. I definitely agree on it. It's definitely higher up on my list because the premise of the show and like the ideal is like really, really solid. Like the foundation of the show is really, really solid. And that it's like, hey, it's like a coming to terms with kind of story where it's like, you know, finding ways to move on from tragedy, right? Because like we find out it's like an accident, it's sudden, it's out of nowhere, and like obviously for 10 years it basically just wrecks their lives, right? Like the daughter still becomes a functioning member of society though, the dad's still working, but like there's definitely a lot of like sorry a lot of like good stuff there. However, like you're saying, it's like it feels like it's just like constantly falling short of its good points, right? Where it's like, oh, there's this new character interest that's going to be a divisive thing, and it's like the daughter has a whole breakdown about it, and it's like your dad has to move on, you have to move on too at some point. Like life goes on regardless of what happens, and it's not cheating. Your mom isn't there anymore. I don't care if this daughter is, you know, the embodiment of your mom's consciousness. That's not your mom anymore, right? It's something they have to realize, and it feels like they're getting further and further away from like coming to terms with it, and it's just gonna be worse off when things start happening that are back to like reality, I guess is the way to put it.
And that might be fine. Like if that's the point of the show, that might be fine in the long run, but it's not exactly what I want right now, so I'm not sold on it.
Yeah, so I think the show could be really good. It just hasn't given me the things that I want from it yet.
It's gonna hit. There are gonna be things that kill. I'm
like,
super.
There already have been some moments that fucking hit.
The birthday scene was really good until they signed the marriage contract, right? Like,
yeah, like it's so weird because watching this show is just watching a train wreck that is waiting to happen.
Yeah,
and we all know this going into it. And because of that, the comedic moments don't hit ever because you're never wanting them.
Yeah.
You're never expecting them. You're expecting the drama and the tension of when is it going to break, and getting pulled out of that tension just ruins any of the pacing that it has a lot of the time, because you have to kind of get back into the tension again. And it's hard because, like you guys said, there's really solid stuff here. Like the major conceit of this show is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But when it doesn't actually follow the conceit of the show most of the time and tries to do a gag every, like Michael said, every 45 fucking seconds, it's just rough. I want more from this show, and I don't know, it's hard to get through at points because of just the dad being kind of the worst at points.
The fireworks scene is maybe the worst because she saves him twice, sets him up for success in the conversation. She walks away for 5 seconds, and he puts his foot in his mouth. Mind you, it is maybe the smoothest save of the 3 episodes of him going, I've known her for 30 years, and she goes, that's kind of funny. Because out of context, you aren't gonna assume that he didn't flat out go, I've been married to her for 15 years. That would be crazy. That would be illegal to say, you know? It sucks that this show is already so hard to recommend to people because they look at the original title that Crunchyroll has wisely decided not to call it on its profile so that people might look at it. And then, so far the 3 episodes haven't given me a lot of wiggle room to convince people to check it out.
So Sean, if I can do one more tidbit before we move on from Suma's show.
I also want Austin to talk.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Austin, would you like to talk on it first?
That's covered a lot of the points
Yeah.
already. Like, it's so hard just like watching the 2 steps forward and then 3 steps back, and then we're suddenly just, hey, they're really committing to making this 10-year-old out to be a wife when it's really not. And it's like, there's a lot of really interesting open-ended points. Like, okay, if she just regained all of her memories, then what is she 2 separate personalities? Is there another personality that's just dormant or something? And there's a lot of interesting things that I feel like they're going to address in the future episodes, but sometimes you just can't think about it. It's just it's kind of a child marriage.
That is, you put it in such a good way. When the child is portrayed as the wife, it's the problem. The show making the child out to be a wife is the issue by far. I
had one funny aside that I got told from the right that just said, some of y'all haven't been half orphans, and it shows.
I'm like a quarter an orphan.
Quarter orphan? John, no.
Divorce. It's a quarter. You're almost there.
Okay.
Not quite. You get the later half of it. You don't get
but it's it's definitely an idea of I get that it's very difficult to move on from, but at some point they have to make an effort to start that process, and it's not hard and it never goes away and that hole's never filled, but just trying to fill it with this patch fix isn't going to solve any of the problem.
The husband's the problem.
Absolutely.
There is no movement
the
from
daughter
him
is
to try.
also having issues with
Yes.
her dad moving on, which is causing him to backpedal as well. I think it's kind of it's a cycle.
To give her some wiggle room, she's been portrayed as someone who's locked herself away from social interaction for about 10 years because she lost her mom, and then didn't have support from her father, which the scene between the two of them talking about that is very well done, and again immediately followed up by the marriage bond. So it's so tricky. Obviously writing's on the wall for her. Guy she's teaching how to make a web page for, you got something there. Probably that's the direction I imagine they'll take her.
And to her credit, the daughter is making more efforts to get past some of the issues that she's been dealing with since her mom died, as evidenced with finding a different job that actually requires her to go out and socially interact with people and teach people these computer things.
Yeah, 2 last points I want to quick make. The first is that the one of the things that there are 2 things that happen in the show that feel really odd watching it. It's she shows up in the middle of their street to give him lunch boxes, and there's not a single human being around, and there's no man, you're doing this in the worst way fucking possible.
Hey kid, you got my lunch. Hey kid, you got that lunch.
And then also, I know that they can't walk her home. That would be worse. But sending the child out in the dark to wherever the fuck she lives to get home is not a good idea. I know it's Japan, so it's a slightly better idea than like in Philadelphia or Detroit.
Also,
but
Gambling
like
on your drunken mom's like male partners being reliable is a fucking bold move after you already got caught once.
yeah,
Like,
that's a disaster waiting to happen. The other point is I can't look at the daughter in this show and not think of the character from Dead Mount Deathplay. I can, the two of them exist in it's the glasses, it's the hair and the glasses that does it a little bit for me. That just makes it difficult. Yeah. Lots of thoughts here on this one.
The two different kinds of I can fix her.
Very different. Let's move it on. It is time for Blue Box.
Yeah, so we get introduced to the main character, Taiki Inomata. He is first year in high school. He's like joined the badminton club because we all love hitting small things with rackets.
Yeah, bro. Hit
You can
that
say it.
cock.
We all love hitting cocks. Yes, thank you,
I
Mason.
love hitting cock, man. Some dudes just gotta slap some cocks around. You know what I'm saying?
And he has it's already very forward that he's got a crush on an upperclassman on the girl on the basketball team named Chinatsu Kano, and he talks to his his two friends Kyo and Hina about it, and naturally, as friends do, they give him shit, and he continues to put himself in a good way, in situations where he just stumbles across her. He goes to the gym early in the morning to practice, and she's already there shooting hoops and balling out. He sees her out in the just chilling in the cold, and he really awkwardly, as one does, goes up there, offers 3 different solutions to keep her warm. Not getting any of them across very well, but still, making at least a charming effort. We support awkward boys here. And so he finds out that she's that his mom and her mom used to play basketball together, and then his mom drops a little bombshell that's oh, it's a shame that that they're moving overseas for a while. And he's like, excuse me, say what? And he runs out to the gym, has this long impassioned speech about not giving up on her efforts, and kind of yeah, I'm actually just staying with my mom's friends, and she's awkward about it. And oh hey, by the way, those mom's friends, that'll be Taiki's mom, and he's not sure what to do about it. So the second episode goes on with them getting accustomed to living with each other. They chat in the evening times. She makes a cute little friendship bracelet for him, and they also have to come into the issue of oh, do we let other people, how many people do we let in on this secret? He tells Kyo because Kyo is actually just kind of the god of reading the room, apparently, and eventually he decides that he doesn't know how not to spill the beans, so he just starts avoiding her at school. And Chinatsu thinks that it's because Hina, and he's no, I do not like Hina. That is not the case. I'm just not sure how to go about it. And they have a nice little bit of communication about it, about the topic, and they work it out. And in the third episode, we get introduced to Haru, who is an upperclassman on the badminton team. And Taiki and Hina see Haru and Chinatsu walking together, and he gets mega depressed, and he's I don't know what to do about it. I don't know if they're dating. And then Haru ends up getting what is it? He ends up getting practicing against Taiki, and Taiki and Kyo are what am I gonna do? I don't know what I'm gonna do if he finds out that I like Chinatsu. And of course, Haru overhears, and he just puts him through like the most brutal training regimen that mankind has ever seen. He's just like dying in class the next day because he just doesn't get a chance to sleep.
They're also doubles partners.
Yes, doubles partners. And then he walks out, and he's like, and he sees Haru, Chinatsu, and a bunch of other your students just talking, and Haru just pats him on the back. He's like, "Yeah, this guy sucks, but he's got a lot of potential." And he gets a call, and he's like, or he gets a message on his phone. He's like, "Oh yeah, my girlfriend's thanks for the help with my girlfriend, Chinatsu." And he's like, "You have a girlfriend? It's not Chinatsu?" And the episode ends with that little bit of jesting.
Man, it almost feels like Haru fucking sets this up. I almost don't believe he got that text. I almost think he's lying because he wanted to fuck with him so bad.
Oh, absolutely.
Haru's the
dude.
goat. I love Haru.
Dude, this
Haru's so
Okay,
good.
so for me, Blue Box #1, this cast fucking rules. I've had them for
This
3
cast
episodes,
fucks.
some of them not even, and every single one of them are incredible. There is something to say about Taiki that the man doesn't know if the girl he is absolutely down bad for is dating his senpai. He has to go through with this with this inter team match for placements, and he just goes and he just fucking puts it out of his brain. He's like, I'm gonna go. If I lose this match and I blame it on Chinatsu, what the fuck am I doing with my life? I need to play badminton. This man is like Hinata if he understood the game he was playing. Instead of just fucking winging it 80% of the time. This man learns something and he's like, I'm a fucking repeat it 7 times through. Dude, the sports look clean. As someone who did not know what the major conceit of Blue Box was, which Michael found out as I got to the end of episode 1, and before they did the reveal, I went, I hope she winds up living with him. And then it hard cuts. I go, let's go. And Michael goes,
I lost my fucking shit. At
Michael-
that one. You
Michael
guys
went,
paused it. I
you
popped off
didn't
so
know
hard.
that? And I went, no.
I didn't put that 2 and 2
I
together.
didn't
thought
read
they
that
were
part of the
chill.
description of it on Mal. My bad. These two, this couple's adorable. I love them. I'm hoping for the best. I can't wait for tons of sports. These are probably my 2 favorite sports to like, outside of, including golf in there because I'm weird, but like my 2 favorite sports, not counting ball. Okay, there's a couple. Maybe I'm wrong. As a guy who really loves tennis, badminton is adjacent enough that it's essentially just tennis that I'm down for it. Like I love it.
I think a lot
So-
of what they. Oh, you go first. You go.
I was just gonna say, so I know mine is, I have it lower than everyone else. I'm gonna be real. That is entirely because I think we can all agree that Don to Don or deserve to be in the top 2 or top 3. And I just really liked Becca Uday and Negative Positive Angler. This show's incredible. I love it so much. My top, hold on, let me look at this. Yeah, my top 5 are all just kind of like jumbled up in there. So, yeah, the show's incredible.
Real quick, I have to talk about what might be the best scene physically ever that I've ever seen. It's in episode 2 when it is Taiki and Hina walking and they're just going through the mall and she is jumping from colored square to colored square to colored square because I'm so happy that
so
some form of
cute.
media has finally adapted the fucking brainworms you have when you exist somewhere and there's a patterned floor. Michael sent me the manga panel for it, and I'm so happy that they looked at that manga panel and they went, no, she should do it for the entire
it.
conversation, and they ran with it.
That's because most of the conversation
I
they're just
love
showing each other's
Haru,
faces. They're showing
man.
faces.
Dude, like you're saying, like this entire cast, like every character we met has been so dynamic and so good. Like, from like obviously the main 3, like Taiki, Kyo, and Hina's like relationships with each other from like past, and obviously Hina's affections towards Taiki that are there that he's too stupid, awful, thick-headed protagonist about. while also being infatuated with Chi, who's now living with him. It's a whole mess, but like he's like, is she dating him? But he's dating him. But the senpai, he's not that interested in Chi because he has a girlfriend, but he's gonna fuck with this underclassman because A, it's funny, and B, he recognizes, hey, this guy's pretty good at badminton, and we'd make a pretty good team together if I get him up to shape, which is why they're doing doubles together. Like, it's really cool to see like Kengo being like the senpai who's like a rival in sport but not a rival in love, that like is able to like help him without being like, hey buddy, cheer up, you got this, instead of being like, I'm gonna fuck with you so hard but it's gonna make for great content for me. And it's also gonna help you in some ways, I promise.
Greatest line coming out of him is, I make you do shit that I wouldn't do. That's fucked up,
Yeah.
man. Why do you let me get away with it?
But I will say is Kyo like is a 1-to-1 with I forget his name from Lemon, but Sean, you know
Yes.
who I'm talking about.
I was gonna
He's
make
like a 1-to-1. Like if you took that character and switched them, I wouldn't be able to tell because they look the exact same, they act the exact same, and they're both goated.
I was gonna make a point that the thing you need in a rom-com is a best friend with glasses who you spill all your
With
secrets
the bowl
to,
cut,
man.
with the clean bowl cut.
They're literally.
And the bang.
I'll let me go get a photo of him for everybody else.
I can tell it too. Did you just pull the most recent chapter? He's in there.
Yeah.
But this show is just absolutely my exact cup of tea. I honestly like. I thought about switching it with Dandadan, because they're both just so close to me. Like in terms of like 1 and 2, they're basically like 1A and 1B basically for me right now. This show is absolutely wonderful, and if I had been able to watch it before picking shows, I would have probably picked this one over Dandadan just because this is like the show that I would just eat up because it's sports, rom-com, slice of life, comedy. Like checks all the boxes. Love it. Just peak. I'm gonna and like this is one of those shows that like we're gonna get to like the week before the last week, and I'm gonna go read the entire manga before we do finale, like kind of shows.
There is a bit of manga to get through.
That's good.
And it's still going.
Good.
Yeah.
I know what I said. Give me
No,
3
it's
days.
fair.
I got this.
That's fair. It's only 200 chapters. But yeah,
I watched all of Bike anime in a week. That has 300 episodes.
That's a lot.
Jesus.
I don't want to talk about it. I watched a lot of cycling in like a week and a half.
But yeah, they as I think I'm the resident is caught up with it. They fucking killed it with this adaptation. Holy shit. These characters are fantastic. Again, I know significantly more about a lot of them. Crazy. 200 chapters is a lot of content. But yeah, they're fucking killing it. I think it's Wit's doing this one. Yeah, they shit looks amazing. They're doing a great job adapting all of it. I fucking adore this manga. It's one of my favorite things I've ever read. It's good content. It's good fiction.
It's telecom
Yeah,
animation
it's
film.
Yeah, it's
SKT's doing this?
it's-
No wonder why it's goaded.
So, if you're wondering what else Telecom has done, Telecom
Rick and
has
Morty.
done Tower of God, the first season. I don't know if they did. I don't think they did season. I'm not sure if they did season 2.
They did Nagatoro.
They did Nagatoro. They did Orange.
What's Wit doing this season?
They did Kawagage Boy Sing. Just saying.
But like Telecom does. Telecom has done things. For sure. But this is probably the nicest any of their stuff has ever. Nagatoro does not look bad. As someone who's watched, both seasons of Nagatoro. I don't think they did season 2. But like that show also does look good. But this is incredible. This is a whole nother ballpark, dude.
Like there is a difference in the way they draw the sports compared to the manga, because the way they do in the manga would be almost impossible to adapt. Because the manga, the difference is when they're doing rom-com things, it's very soft, very funny ha-has. And when it goes to sports, it completely changes to a super rough art style.
Dude, don't
like tons
tell
of
me
black
that.
lines everywhere.
I
It's
already
fucking
want to read
awesome.
it. I'm already holding myself back from reading it because
Like-
we're doing a podcast.
This, yeah, I'm so fucking happy with what they're doing with this. The only reason this isn't number 1 is that Orb fucking fuck this some bullshit.
Something I will say is I'm very excited that because we haven't really talked too much about it because we haven't gotten too much, but from a sports perspective, giving you 2 characters to be your central love interest, but then also be 2 completely different sides of the sports narrative of the star player so that you get those trials and tribulations, and the underdog guy who just wants to get really good and loves the sport. The fact that you're going to be able to get both the highs and lows of both of those characters throughout this story, I'm so excited for, because they're already doing a great job with it.
And like the two different dynamics of like badminton being like both an individual sport and a team sport with singles and doubles,
Yeah.
being really really conducive to like Taiki's personality, where he is both the person who likes to help others, but he's also very proactive about his own growth. It just kind of like fits to a T. And then you've got Shinatsu, which I mean, who is basketball, but they at this point they haven't really gone too much in depth with that yet. So
Yeah.
that's something that we're probably going to see more of, in future episodes. I have read the manga as well, so but um, it's also really refreshing to see like all the different combinations of interactions between like the side cast. Like Hina is what we call in the business a problem in a good, in a good way.
Or the other way I like to refer to this type of character, a gremlin.
Well, I say the goat.
Kyo, like even though he's like very like calm and he doesn't really have much emotion behind his words, he's already being like he still has a very like fleshed out character in how observant he is and how he has a very like high emotional EQ. And I mean Haryu's also a problem, just not gremlin problem. He's just a problem.
Haryu's a bro problem.
He's a bro problem indeed.
Yeah, Blue Box good. Let's kick it over to you, Mason. Let's talk about Mecha Ude.
So Mecha Ude follows. Hold on, I have this pulled up. Follows a boy named Hikaru Amatsuga, who, on his way home one day, accidentally is walking through the middle of a mechanical arms fight between Aki Murasame and some dudes from, I don't remember the Kagami group.
Yeah.
Who are evil. They're evil organization TM. They want to enslave these mechanical arms that are sentient and bend them to their will. And the opposing group, who we got at the end of the third episode, Arms, is trying to resist them and allow the mechanical arms to be sentient and free, and also bond to them because they're sick. And Hikaru ends up bonding to Alma, a mechanical arm known as the Trigger Arm. He's special for some reason. He also has lost all of his memories. So he's just kind of there to help Hikaru. He's just a homie. And Hikaru doesn't want it because he just wants to live his normal life and keep his head down. And he can't do that anymore. So the first episode is just him getting acquainted with Alma and getting attached. We also get some fight scenes that are sick as hell. The second episode is Aki from the group Arms is trying to get him to come along to Arms because they need Alma, and is very forceful with it. And then the third episode is we get a new character from the Kagami group that is bonded to some Arms, and he's also the little brother of the head of a gang, and he wants the Trigger Arm for some reason. So we get a fight that is rad as fuck. I know I'm very, very like heavily shaving down on the plot of this show. To be fair, there's not exactly a ton of it right now.
There hasn't been a whole lot of it
Yeah.
yet.
It's just been fights mostly.
The only detail I would add in is that he wants it because Alma was meant to be his.
Yes.
The Kagami group had it. They lost it. And then I want to say it's the end of episode 1, maybe the beginning of 2. You see that he goes in and steals the artificial arms that he has,
Yes.
to then go track down Alma. That's like the other element of this. Also, you have the guy with the worm type who we have briefly introduced the subplot point for Aki with.
Yes.
Yeah.
Aki's family.
Episode 3's post-credit scene.
Yeah.
Crazy thing to just toss at us.
Yeah. So this show, while it doesn't have much in the way of plot, is a very neat project just because of the fact that it is essentially one woman wanted to make her dream anime, did a Kickstarter, and got it. And then 5 years later, we have this music done by Sawano, some of the raddest animation I've ever seen. It
It was like a couple years, and they finally made like a pilot for it that
Yeah.
also got delayed, and they finally revealed the pilot,
Yes.
and then announced that I got like a full anime.
I've been watching this thing in the upcoming anime section of every site for a while.
Yep.
I want to say something real quick, which is this is not this show's fault. This show's biggest drawback is going to be that I don't want this to be 12 episodes. I want this to be 65, and I want a new mechanical arm every week. I want this to be fucked up. I want this to have been something that could have aired on WB Kids. Like, this is a Saturday morning cartoon structure ass show, and I'm so upset that I'm not. This is some Lilo and Stitch cartoon level shit where it's a new experiment every week. And I wish that was what I was gonna get, but I enjoy this a lot. I don't have thoughts on the action yet because I want more to really figure out how I feel about it. The studio hasn't done anything before this, so like there are a couple bits of animation where things aren't as fluid. Where like it like as something that would be like a bigger name studio, it doesn't take anything away from it. I just don't have a good enough gauge on the actual action sequences to know how I feel about it. All of the arm designs are cool as hell. I love them. I was gonna say that it seems like there's well, okay, I'd better ignore that one because I don't know what the fuck was going on with that one.
What do you mean? I love motorcycle moving at 3 miles per hour.
Because for a while, a lot of them were animal themed, and then you have hands. So you got both the hands. They're doing things there. I don't know. I'm interested in this. The legitimate biggest drawback that I can give this show, Hikaru's not great yet. And it sucks because episode 3, I feel like they really set him up to like grow a little, and we get the cool fight scene, but there's not a single point where he like looks at somebody for telling him for the 20th time that he doesn't need to do anything. He goes, no. He doesn't. Him and Alma just collectively decide, well, we're going to do something anyway. Like, we just got to do something. I want more from him. My comparison to some people about this is that, and some people might disagree with me, part of the reason I can't really get invested in the My Hero is I'm not really sold on Deku at the start. And I feel very similar, where this is the most cookie cutter main guy you could give me. And it sucks because he's right next to a phenomenal character who I love, which is Aki. Because every second she's on screen, I adore her, and we need to give her more cookies.
I'm torn on Aki because it's like she has moments where she's a good character, and she has other moments where she's just like flat, and like there's like just nothing, right?
But she's
got
like, two
dogs. A lot of times her fucking arms have more like personality than she does.
Well,
right,
yeah.
And so that's why like
she has two of them.
She's got two
the
wolves
reason why this is
inside
so low
of her.
for me is like, okay, so like not big sold on Aki, and then on top of that you have Hikaru, like you're saying, who's kind of just like a deadpan character who's like literally we spend 3 episodes with him, people going to him and being like, hey, you suck, did you know that? And then you have another character come up and be like, hey, you really suck, did you know that? And you have like a third character coming out that's like, holy shit, bro, you are the worst, most basic, worthless human ever, and suck ass, and also your arm's really cool. But you suck, by the way. And like that's like 3 episodes, and then he has one good fight scene at the end of episode 3, and you're like, okay, that redeems it a little bit, but like for like 2.5 episodes, it's just getting told he sucks, and he should go home, and he should go cry in a corner and like die so they can have the arm back, basically. Which they like it's just attached to his hoodie, so like they don't even really need him, kind of. Technically, they can just use the hoodie. Like, I know he needs to be in proximity. It's weird, but like,
so I do want to
put him in a backpack and put someone else.
I do want to say, in terms of defending Aki, for her arms, they are brothers. That has been canonically said. They were made
Yeah.
at the same time. Aki's family got killed. Her entire family. She got Frank Castled. So
Yeah.
it's kind of understandable that she is barely functioning in terms of emotional maturity.
Yeah, I don't really have a lot of issues with Aki's character.
Like I said, I don't have tons with it either. I just
You're not sold
If
on her.
she's-
I get it.
yeah.
The other thing I'll say is I actually really like our main character in episode 2. Because he takes initiative and does stuff. Do I think the end result of the fight isn't phenomenal? Maybe. But like I like that. I also like the set piece. The set piece in episode 2 is really cool. Like having the abandoned building, having a sniper, shooting you while also having a fight inside of it. Like I like that whole episode in terms of its interaction. I like a lot. And I just feel like episode 3, like I feel like the show is just hurting him as a character for me. But overall, I still really like the show.
I'm actually like I kind of see Aki as like a little bit of a set piece with like her two
I think they're all called arms.
arms. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Which I mean, which is the case for 2.5 episodes. And like the difference between Aki and where she's like kind of emotionally dysfunctional to just like an absolute like cookie loving gremlin and also like super serious, and then like the that contrasting with like the fairly dynamic personalities of her two arms is really fun and really
Yeah.
interesting to see. I also really enjoyed like the the whole gag of like Miss Wing Woman trying to set them up to be romantic, walking walking in on them in the abandoned building because she just wants to see how it goes, getting absolutely embarrassed at the actions that are going on in there, running away, and then setting up the stage for the actual like main fight to happen was actually really really well done and really funny.
The villain, one of the villains walking, going, "Who the fuck was her? What was she? Never mind. I don't have time for this." I want to give
shits in episode 2 or something.
I want to give this
Two
show
of
I
them.
want to give this show time to I want to see what it does because I think you have an entirely you have a lot you have to explore with the concept. That I like the show enough that I definitely want to give it time. Michael, you haven't said much
Yeah.
yet.
The show's good. I don't know how I feel about the show currently. There is stuff I like. I think its art style really stands out. I love just how kind of rough. It isn't like this super clean art style that you expect from a lot of modern anime. So it lets it do a lot of funky things during its
Yeah.
fights that don't really stand out.
So that was something I meant to bring up. I heard this comparison, and I think it's part of the reason why I really like this show so much, and it's that this feels just like another Trigger anime.
I was gonna say is Aki's design in particular is very Trigger in how she's her hair, the way she is drawn in particular does give that feeling. I thought the exact same thing.
Yeah, I'm just not sure. I like what we've gone through. I like what we have with Aki. I like these her big sorry scene at the end of episode 3. I think that was really well set up. I do really enjoy that in the end of episode 3 when he's trying to stitch him back to the hoodie.
hood.
He can feel the stitches because he's connected to that part of the hoodie. Because it's the whole gimmick with the arms are connected to something. Episode 2 was fine. I mean, I think the fight scene itself is a neat idea. I just think the two little shitters are certainly two enemies that are introduced to exist and lose.
I mean, Biker Gang Man's the exact same.
Yeah, I forget. I tend to forget he exists. And I know I remember the bike. I don't know how does that arm work.
Hey,
I
I
thought the
like
arms were
Jesse
connected
and
to them. How
James.
does
I
he
thought they were
disconnect
funny
from
when
the
they
bike?
blasted off again.
No, but like this is what I mean by like everything about this show screams weekly
Like
villain
child
of the week.
cartoon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like okay, but you and I have to make this clear to anybody who doesn't know this about me. That's a compliment. I like that. That's the shit I thrive on. I watch too many seasons of Card by Vanguard and Digimon. This shit's gold to me. I think that shit. I legitimately think that things that are generally geared towards children can be really well done in great stories. Fuck, we all read Shonen Jump, and that's not geared to our age demographic.
Yeah, we are a little over that age demographic.
But you can't.
Obviously, it's not not for children, but like
Yeah,
still.
but you can't tell me that when they detach the arms from somebody and they turn into little Bakugan cubes, that shit isn't meant to collect them weekly. I feel it
Holy
in
shit.
my bones.
Merchandise, marketable plushies.
My biggest hope is that this does well enough that like if this creator wanted to do more, they could. Because this would also make a rad-ass game. Please God, not a
True.
mobile alone game.
It's a
See,
custom
actually,
game.
my biggest gripe with this show so far, has to be this might be me misunderstanding the connection between the two of them. Is that Alma and the blue arm that it's also an arm? They're
fist?
both right-handed fists. Why are they not a right and a left? Why are they both the same fucking hand? Are
Probably-
they not supposed to be like
probably 'cause-
opposites of each other? Is that like
Probably
the
because
thing?
one was derived from the other. Probably because Fist
I-
was
I-
derived
I-
from Alma. His name is
I-
Fist.
That's fucking ridiculous.
Wait,
it's funny
are
is that
you
he
ta-
always sits
Yeah,
to the
no,
left.
the
but he
blue
has a
arm
right
is
arm or the
Realized
right arm.
That
The-
in
the blue
any
arm
of
is
this, like
fist.
character list, it's named Arma, not Alma.
Well, yeah, because so I wasn't gonna necessarily say anything. This is almost certainly the name Alma is either meant to be a pun or perhaps just they don't know how they want to translate it from Arma because of R's and L's being a commonly swapped thing in Japanese media.
Yeah.
With that,
I don't dislike the show. I think I need more of it.
I want more of it. So we have. Yeah. Let me adjust this, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. It's time. Let's talk about this grieving soul. Let this
Let him
grieving soul
retire.
retire, please God. So this story, I'm gonna need to maybe pull up some. I think I'm okay on character names, but I'm gonna pull them up for certain other characters.
What you mean you forgot?
no,
who
I know-
Rankin?
No, I know. Great Sama.
His name's like Cry or something.
Well, yeah, it's Cry Andre. I know his name.
Tino.
They've got Tino.
Oh, I
Greg,
know- oh, and I
the
know-
red-haired one,
Trust
and
me, I know Tino's name.
the
as
other
well.
one, Brunda, or is it something like that?
Isn't the redhead's name Guilford? Gilbert.
Yes.
It's
Something,
Gilbert.
yeah.
It's Gilbert.
Gilbert.
It's even.
Yeah, I'm like, I
it's
knew something
even
like
blander.
that.
Where the fuck is this show I'm out? There it is. So this story I had a bit I was gonna do and I didn't prep it. I was gonna write down the intro bit where they do the in this world. And
When
I
you
forgot
look
to.
at
That
the
was
thing, it
just
says
gonna
all-
be my recap.
I love seeing the names of the actual main cast.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Let's Just Grieving Soul Retire follows Cry Andre, who, when he was a kid, had a group of friends who wanted to be adventurers. And so they did. And they, surprise, are really talented and really good, except for Cry. To the point where Cry, and numerous different times, was like, hey guys, I want to stop. Like, you're all too good. Let me just go home. And they go, oh, you're being modest. We need you here, Cry. You're a leader. In fact, we don't have a leader. You should be the leader. And Cry goes, why? And then they wind up going to the main town, and they join the Adventurers Guild, and the receptionist at the desk goes, you guys need a name and a logo. And Cry goes, I got some shit I can pull here. When they hear the bullshit I'm gonna craft, they aren't gonna want to spend any time in this group. And then he shows it to him, and I am blanking on the actual fucking name.
It's not Grievers. Is that not the
It might be the
name of their group?
The Grievers. I
It's
think
Grieving
you
Soul.
are right. Yeah,
They
it
are
is
the
just
Grievers.
Grieving Soul. and then he draws a really shitty mask because he's a kid, and then they model the masks later, which is very funny. He shows it to his crew, and his crew goes, "Oh, yeah, that's not very heroic." And Cry goes, "Well, if you guys don't want to use this, I'll just I'll pack my bags and go home." And they go, "No, Cry, we love it. It's great. We really want you here. Please, God, we'll be the grieving souls." And all of this is kind of fed to us over split amongst some of the main things happening. So Cry arrives at the guild as they're the steps are recruiting for different adventuring parties. The steps being like the guild itself, kind of the hub. And Cry is incognito because he's late. And he winds up meeting some adventurers, and we learn a little bit about levels in the dungeons and these phantom monsters that are inside of them. And they get inside, and everyone's like, well, for the first time, the Grievers are going to be recruiting someone, maybe. And then Gilbert opens his fucking mouth about how he wants to be recruited by them, and this girl, Tino, comes out, and she goes, no. You don't understand how amazing these people are. I'm gonna kick your ass, and you're gonna have to go home. And this winds up, and before she does, she winds up catching Cry in the audience, and she goes, "Master, you're here." And it is revealed that Cry is indeed the guild master of the Grievers, the strongest guild around. And then for the next 3 episodes, we set up Cry having to clean up the mess that he made in this recruiting hall, where he basically said, someone go fetch this ring, kill each other, whoever winds up on top, you'll be recruited not to my party, but to my boy Ark's party. So he has to take a quest to make do, and he winds up picking what he thinks is a pretty run-of-the-mill, easy dungeon difficulty, rescue some adventurers quest. It turns out he should read ever. And he winds up making a makeshift party for Tino, with all the adventurers we've met so far. We get what I think is actually a cool scene where Gilbert doesn't want to work with them, and he spars Tino, and if Tino wins, he will go into the dungeon with them. And Tino bodies him without a sword, and Cry goes and looks at Gilbert's sword and goes, "This sword's fucking insane, dude," and he kicks it, and he fucking shoots out all of the magic inside of it, and this is where we start to learn that the only reason Cry has survived as long as he has is that he is a magic item collecting junkie. This man has every magic item relic known to God, including as many fucking, guardian angels as possible. This man just stacking them, 17, baby.
Protection rings.
Bunch of shooting star rings, some nonsense. But Cry winds up sending them out to the dungeon, and everyone's like, that dungeon's been getting stronger, and like really powerful parties have been going missing. And he goes, oh shit, I fucked up. And he runs and collects all his relics and sets out hoping that he will catch up to Tino's group before they are murdered. And in episode 3, we actually get into the dungeon. They do a bit of a dungeon crawl. They fight some phantom wolves with guns and bows. Why do they have miniguns? What the fuck is going on? And Cry
Characters don't even know.
Yeah. They wind up clearing through a good chunk of the dungeon, taking out what they think is the boss, and then 5 more bosses walk out, and they go, oh shit. And then Cry flies in and goes, I got this. We need to run. And they are in the middle of running away. I can't believe this didn't finish this arc in 3 episodes. Perhaps the craziest slow build start I've ever seen to a fantasy show. So like, downsides right now, I think Cry's party, his actual party, the Grievers, are all gonna be really good. I'm really excited to meet them. They all look like they're gonna be interesting characters. I gotta know who this fucking tank monster is of a man, who I see in the opening. Also, wild thing, this anime's opening is nonsense. It starts the opening with a narrative intro like One Piece. It starts playing the opening. Halfway through the opening, it gives you a preview of clips from the episode. And then goes back into playing the opening. What the fuck? It's so bad that Crunchyroll doesn't know when to give you the skip intro option. It's confused. Sometimes you get it at the end of it. They don't know where to put it.
But we're forgetting also the greatest thing about this show.
The
which
ED?
is the ED, where they wrap what happens in the next episode.
This show is fucking something. Here's what I'll say. I really like Cry. Perhaps by episode 3, some of his gags are getting a little stale. And I argue that that's because he doesn't have other good characters to bounce off of yet. I like what we get from Greg and Gilbert in the fight in the dungeon. I actually think the conversation about both of their previous parties are nice and interesting and add a little bit to like the adventuring world. Tino's a character. She sure is a problem, huh? God complex towards Cry. Fan service on legs when she fan service on thighs.
W.
Holy shit.
That's a W, Sean. I think you mean.
For some people, yeah. I think if you can't stand Tino, this show is rough on you. I really dig though the stuff about Cry I really like is the magic item junkie leads to a lot of room for some really cool stuff. They have a segment they run where he pulls out a magic item and they give you like a marketing ad for it, and I like that. I think that's funny. I also do really dig the core premise of the show, which is this man does not want to be here. Please God, let him go home. He is tired of adventuring. He has only gotten away with it because he is surrounded by idiots who are too powerful. He has a really good quote in episode 1 where he's trying to talk to people and no one will listen to him, and he goes, "This is how every adventurer is." And if that's not the most truest thing I've ever heard, that adventurers do not give a fuck about what you have to say. They're gonna say their thing and then do what they want to do. I mean, I have it in my bottom 3. I would have liked more from this.
I don't remember
Than
where
what
I
we
put
get
it.
in our episode, than what we
that's
get
what I
in
put
the
it, yeah.
3 episodes.
I was not an incredible fan of like. I felt like they told so much of the story and through flashbacks, and it was just like very much constant. It was just like, you know, the ring that he told them to fight over and Tino ended up with. They just show like she just uses it, and then they show like a 3-second clip of Cry teaching Tino how to use the ring. It's just like, okay, cool. There wasn't really much like. I would have liked them to, you know, go about that in a different way rather than just like injecting yet another flashback into it. Like have some more build up into like the fact that the ring is, you know, a magic item that does that rather than just, oh, it's a ring. It probably is a magic item.
Yeah. What I do want to give the show credit for is it like Chekhov's guns, the most I've ever seen, and it's well thought out in the way it places things in the story to then build and use in scenarios. The idea that Cry kicks Gilbert's sword, expands all the magic on it, and then has to go refresh his own hounding chain, and he goes, "Wait a fucking minute, he's not that
You have to
dumb,
recharge
is he?
that,
He
right? You
fucking
have to
recharged it
recharge
after
it,
I
right?
kicked it." Like I really like that, and it's the same. While I agree with you about the flashback for the ring, it's really honestly you don't even really need it. Like giving you it makes it feel odd in that place. Like it would have just been better for her
that's
to
so they
use
could
it.
explain that the ring was a ring that shot lasers because that had not been previously shown that was even a thing, and
Before
if
she-
70,000 rings could do.
Yeah. But like the idea of the ring, I really like that in episode 1 he throws a ring. You know it's magic. Tino has it, and in the moment she goes, "Right, the ring." Like I like the setup of it. But I do agree that man, this show could have benefited from maybe not splicing backstory and giving you just an episode of backstory, a well-timed episode of backstory. I'll say.
So, can anyone tell me why in the flashback it shows her shooting it from her index finger and then she puts it on her pinky, which is actively so much harder to shoot from?
My only guess is that this is a flashback not from after she's gotten the ring, but from like Cry training her like when she like just in general. Because she's fucking addicted to this man. At some point I imagine he went, "This is how you use this magic artifact." But there's no way to distinguish that time difference from what we have and what we get, right?
Tino doesn't look any different in that flashback.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Why is she? Because it gives Edith if she knows it's that. Why the fuck is it on her pinky? Do I love that in the flashback they have their hands in finger guns. Yes, that's adorable. I love the finger guns. That was a great.
Yeah,
that was a great
that's the
little
Yu
thing.
Yu Hakusho thing. If you're firing a projectile from your hand, you should
Finger
make a
gun.
gun.
That's how it works. Just science.
We
I-
solved
I
this
do-
years
yeah.
ago.
I am hoping. I assume based on the fact that their character bios exist, that we are gonna get stuff with the rest of
The main
the
part.
Grievers of like that group.
I assume
Um,
someone's coming in to help them.
Yeah,
'Cause I don't know how they get out of this.
I want that. I want to meet more of that group because there's like 7 of them or something.
You got Small Witch who rides on the shoulder of Giant Tank Man who used to not be a Giant Tank Man. Curious.
You have Punchy Girl. You have a guy with the
Oh,
wooden
oh.
sword.
So there's 7 of them in total, including him and Tino.
Which
Right.
technically Tino's not official, but
She's like a trainee or whatever.
she's a
Like, yeah,
solo
like,
adventurer who wants in. But she was
I
trained
want-
under
One more. of them.
the Punchy Gal.
Mm-hmm.
But I also do really like that we're setting up early. That this is a world where the magic items are not very clean cut. As obviously, yes, we do have sword that lights on fire, but it's sword that lights on fire and has a battery. We have robe that lets you fly really fast. It doesn't let you fly really slow.
Doesn't let you stop.
I love setting up really dumb magic items. I think that's really funny.
I
We can
love
get
the
some
idea
really
that they're
stupid
like,
magic
wait,
items to
no
come
one's
out
used
of
that
it.
item since the incident, and it just shows like crumbled walls and stuff, and like a body's like silhouette in the wall. Like-
Absolute DM's wet dream.
Yeah, there is some very funny stuff we get here. I do like it when he shows up and rams into the one wolf. The other wolves are like, huh? And walk away scared, and they go, wait, he actually can't do shit. He shot like 17, he shot like 5 lasers at this thing, and it did nothing. Oh no.
But
Yeah, but boy is Tino starting to really grate on me.
I think Tino's okay, but I agree. Like she's getting to that point where it's getting unbearable. Cry, I think
Episode
is
3,
just,
like
like,
half her lines are just
Cry,
that.
Cry is just trying his best to get out of this job, but he's being forced to work it. It's just a black company for him, is what this
Yeah.
is. Or it's just like, man, I just want to retire. I just want to go like live my chill life. Like, let me collect my like 3% ownership, tax on our loot that we get in our adventures for my group, and then just call it good. But at the same time, he could just be like the clerical manager of this group, which is kind of what he is as the leader. But like you said, like the best part about this was definitely like the flashbacks where there's like, listen, we need to establish a leader so we can be more organized. Cry, you're the best and wisest of us. And he's like, I am neither of those things. I want to actually quit. And they're like, quit being a normal person to be the leader? You're right. Great choice.
The misunderstandings are the best part. Cry gets
But-
exposed as having been incognito, and they go,
Hmm.
"You were scouting out the new recruits," and he goes,
You were
"No,
scouting out undercover."
I overslept and didn't have time to change
I-
into the proper
I-
outfit.
I just
You were
love
the
the
best man."
over-explaining people do for him. It's so wonderful. It's like, oh, he gave me this ring because he knew I would need this exact object for this quest. He's just, what a genius. Just absolutely knew. And the rest of the people that are this makeshift party, like, wow, he's that smart. The Grieving Souls are just that good.
And then
wow,
you
it's
have-
amazing.
And then you have maybe the one gag that we could do without. I don't think it's too bad, but it is meh. Where Tino's running through and she's like, "Don't you guys see? You lost your party. They died, and he's trying to show you that you gotta take risks, and you left your party
still
for
have to
strength, and you have to
leave."
realize that you have to work with people. And this is a test for me. Why am I here? You got big tits, man. I don't know why else he would have picked you.
He
I
likes
haven't
big
learned anything
titties.
about you yet."
That's what we're going with.
On one hand, man, I could read that bit coming from a mile away. On the other hand, like, I don't know. For me, the biggest thing is I'm sold on this show's premise. I really want to see like I really want to see kind of this arc wrap and how the characters go. And that's what sets this over a couple of other things is I'm like hooked into at least something in here. A little more than I am with the stuff I have below it. One of those which I will kind of talk about why, because one of those is definitely I'll talk about Yakuza when we get there. That's a very odd show. But I also understand that this show is probably not great fully. I don't think it's bad, but I don't think it's incredible. This is a show I won't be upset if it goes because I'll just binge it on my own. It's an easy out for me. This is what we call certified Sean fantasy garbage.
Listen. There's a certain tier of like fantasy trash that is just entertaining. Look at Full Dive, right?
Well, we can
That shit was
disagree on.
absolute
Yeah, I didn't really find
garbage,
that one entertaining at all.
But
But like,
man, was it fucking funny at times. But-
Let's.
Yeah, the show's all right.
We can take a little. We can take it. So here's what I will say: is if you before this podcast, or before I watched these episodes, said, of our fantasy shows, which ones are you really gonna like? I would not have given you this one. Hey John, it's time to talk about Do Over Damsel.
Yeah, this was a surpriser. So in this show, we start with like wars breaking out. Jill Saraville, who is an adult married to this Prince Gerard, who's like the crown prince, is being threatened and like imprisoned because to be executed by her own fiance because she's gonna be a traitor to the crown. Simply because he only married her because so that he could fuck his sister. That's it. He wanted incest, and so he's like, I'm gonna get my incest one way or the other. You're my wife, I'm gonna fuck that one. But because she was gonna expose him, he's like, well, you found out. Guess I gotta kill you. My bad. And so as she's like trying to flee, she finally gets like stabbed and is going to die, and she gets transported 6 years into the past by magic. And back into the moment of the big party where the crown prince Gerald proposes to her as the wife. And so this, now 10-year-old or how old is she now? She's 10,
12.
right?
I thought.
or no, isn't it like 14?
No, she was
Isn't
16
that-
when she can be executed, so she goes back to 10.
She's
I'm just looking at the bio right now. But so she's back to being 10, and so she's like in this party goes, I have to not get proposed to by this guy. I'm gonna run away, and so she runs away all around this castle, dodging the question until finally he corners her. To which she goes, no, sorry, I'm already in love with this guy. Too bad, so sad, you stink. And the guy behind her was like, sounds good to me. And it turns out he's like the evil dragon prince who was like raging war from across the continent, and was the big bad guy in her time, and is this like 25-year-old guy, or 19 I think is what he is. Yeah. But she remembers him as like the big evil dragon prince. And so he accepts her proposal. They try to run away in a ship. Gerard tries to sink the ship on their way back to their own town, their own continent. Fails because Jill is goated with the sauce and broken because magic is bullshit in this world. And they arrive back at Hadis Rave's home continent, where he is the sitting prince, I believe, because of tragedy and like succession wars and this and that. Basically, he's this cursed dragon emperor because he can speak to the dragon spirits, who also Jill notices, which is why she like trips over and finds the prince to begin with the party. And because he's like born able to see the dragons and stuff, he is destined for the throne no matter what. So you have like 4 or 5 different people in a row who are killed or have an accident or get sick or just plain old like run away basically and die. So he is named the dragon emperor of this continent, and everyone's like, ooh, that's not good, he's cursed. And then finally we get to the last episode where there's an insurrection kind of being planned by one of the houses of this continent, where they're like, oh, we'll frame it on this new girl that's brought over. We'll kill these people. We'll make it was her plan, and he invited this insurrectionist, and then we'll siege power for ourselves by defending the land and create our own structure. To where Jill is captured and disguises herself as just a normal girl, who meets Sphere, who is actually in love with the prince, but who turned her down because she is quote unquote too old. For whatever that means.
Well, she's not 10.
We have he's like 14 would have been is too old, but 10 perfect. Into which they're like, why are you a lolicon? But we get a lot of these cute moments with the prince where he's like baking cookies and making croissants, and being a house husband, and then like these generals come in while he's like baking these like croissants for her, and they go, sir, we have to evacuate now. They're taking the port. We got to invade. And he's like, the fuck did you say? I was baking bread. I'm not stupid. But yeah, it's hard to explain a lot of what goes on the show because, like I said, I watched this 3 weeks ago at this point.
You did a pretty good
But I
job.
think that kind of
I think I got that. I got the most of
basically,
it.
we end on the scene where she is at the port, and basically just like 1v100s them as the bad guy shows up with his giant dragon and his whole army, and then the dragon takes one look at her and goes, and then looks up, and you see Hades on top of the clock tower and goes, "Ooh, my bad. Sorry, Dragon Emperor." And that's where we kind of leave off on, is him showing up. But I love these two's interactions. I love the prince so much. He's such a good boy. He's just golden retriever boy who clearly has trauma and only wants to murder some people.
No,
It's fine.
we're okay. His trauma's on the other route. It's fine. We're trying to
It's on
dodge the
other
trauma.
route. Yeah, this is the happy ending.
He has
route.
minimal trauma right now. It's okay.
But
It hasn't
Is-
fully escalated to war crime.
I've been
show
really
is-
enjoying a lot of the characters in the show as well. And we meet like Camilla and Zeke, who are people who were like her trusted allies back on the other continent, but they actually are from this continent, and they got roped into this whole situation, which is why they end up fleeing here and going to the other continent, and joining their military instead. But here they're just like hired hands and like mercenaries, and so it kind of like you have all these interlocking like stories where like she knows all these people in the future that don't actually know her, but like she knows them and their fates that they meet, and so it's like trying to like, you know, use the tools you have at your disposal without them knowing that you're a tool at her disposal, basically. But yeah, what do you guys think of the show?
Go ahead, Mason.
So, if you had told me
Right.
before I watched this show that there would be a man that is marrying a 10-year-old girl and he's still the best character in this show, I would have laughed at you.
We have two
Here
shows
we are.
about a character going back to being a 10-year-old girl and an old man being in love with them, and somehow they're on complete opposite sides of my opinion about them. How did this happen? This
How
is
is the show that's like based around the tragedy of it, that is supposed to be like this well-regarded manga, the one that I'm less inclined to like.
You know what it is? Setting helps a lot, because you can buy that a 19-year-old emperor looks at a 10-year-old girl and goes, I'm gonna wedge you. That's just how it is right now. Does everybody know it's icky and odd? Yeah. Does it sound like he has some weird magical ritual reason for needing a 10-year-old with immense magical power? Yeah.
Do we need to have sexual relations? No.
Did we
Good.
also tamper this by opening with other dude who wants to really fuck his sister? Wow, yeah,
Actually
we
wants
did.
to have incest?
Can't believe we're weighing pedophilia versus incest here. Holy
Why-
shit.
Who
I
would
wa-
win? Who would win? A pedophiliac or a pedophiliac that is also a pedophiliac towards his
So
sister?
now's a really good time for me to reveal to you guys that I went and where do I have it? Where do I have it? Here it is. Nope, that's not it. Where the fuck did I put this? I know I had this somewhere. Hold on. Where did it go? So I wrote up something and this was important. Why the fuck can't I find it now? God damn it, did I post it somewhere else?
In sports news, Jared Goff has 4 interceptions today.
So I had a message saved somewhere where I had written up all of the content warnings I could potentially have given for this season, and I want you to know the list was dire.
Oh,
because-
no.
And I'll run through the ones off the top of my head I know: attempted rape, suicide, torture, pedophilia, incest. I-
Wincest.
A wild array of content warnings to give for this season. I can't.
Violence and
this-
sexual ideals.
Thing that absolutely fucking blew my mind was this guy sitting here he's talking about his sister, and I'm like, okay, he's got a cis complex, this isn't too bad. And then he looks at her and he goes, I wanted you to raise our child. You know, my sister and I's child. I go, whoa, buddy, we're really cooking in this house, and not a good kind. This
Unlike
is
the other house
the
that's
Hey, his
cooking.
groups in the opening.
I want to know what the thought process is. Just like you're going to kill, Jill
The
for
princess. Yeah.
finding out. But you know, it's not like you're gonna pull up a baby and be like, "Surprise!"
Yeah, he's got to find a new woman on that timeline. That'll be
They're
tricky.
adopted.
Also killing one of your strongest military leaders, but we won't worry about that yet either. So crazy thing is that this show is the most visual novel multi-path bullshit I've ever seen without being that. That's crazy. Like, this is Otome game to the max, but not. It even has like little character portraits that pop up when they introduce an important character in the story. Wild. John walked away, so I'll hold my other thing I want to say that I mentioned to Michael and Mason until he gets back. But I'll let you guys talk a little more about this.
One thing that I'm like kind of confused about is just like, how much power is in Jill's body, because like evidently she
thing.
gets like caught in the first
Yeah.
episode when she's trying to run away, but then they, you know, in the redone timeline, she just throws a ship.
She threw a boat.
She threw like a giant
She cheats.
boat and just like
Punches hole in wall.
punches.
I mean,
Yeah.
she was also like in jail and imprisoned. We don't know about like magical.
His
bullshit
lance seems
theory.
his lance seemed like some real bullshit.
His lance was some super bullshit.
Like, which I guess you kind of have to have if you're a prince of a nation that's at war, right? You also kind of have to be packing something.
But
And
then
we
like
also see the Dragon Emperor do some serious bullshit with like burning.
Yeah, he's
like,
got
the
he's also got an emperor
Fireball.
eye. That man walks around and tells people to fucking kneel, and they do.
He's got Conqueror's hockey.
Yeah.
For sure.
And then, shoot, there's one other thing there's like a lot of like expectations on like put on a 10-year-old in the third episode, where like they just like willingly follow like a 10-year-old into battle, but also they expect a 10-year-old to be just a spy for the neighboring nation, for the other nation, and it's just like, I wouldn't trust a 10-year-old with you know, a cake, you know? This is a lot to put onto somebody.
I think part of
That
it
young.
has to go into the idea that she's from a nation where people of like noble birth have access to lots of magic, right? So like there is some expectation given her status and like where she's from that she probably is a bigger threat than your average well-trained military art official in this country that is
also know
bleeding
that,
dry
like-
of magic.
Like you're saying, like this military nation doesn't have magic.
Magic.
It seems like
Yeah.
is what they're like that. They have all the magic. We have all the bullshit, like the tactics and like the leadership
The
and like,
dragons.
raw numbers. And also we have dragons, which are also kind of bullshit.
So this is where I have to talk about it. I came to this realization yesterday while working. I really like this show because this is just the plot of a Fire Emblem game. We're slowly building it. Turn this show into a tactics game, and baby, we are set to go. You got a noble on the run because another noble from the same country has done a horrible, terrible thing that you must escape from. You find ally in a rival nation that also happens to be heavily tied to dragons. You encounter two people who are trustworthy allies who will fight close by your side. One of them's an archer, and you might as well throw that man on a horse soon. He might as well be your one cavalier. So we just gotta find two more, baby. We gotta find two guys who look similar but are different color palettes, and they'll be our two cavaliers. If this was a Fire Emblem game, Sphere, I can't believe that's her name, would be a cleric. She'd be the person you have to rescue from a really shitty protection mission.
She's a green unit. She's
yeah,
absolutely
she
a green
is
unit.
a green unit. You have to talk to and convince. It's wild.
I'm just waiting for Rave to turn into a lolly.
Oh no!
Don't put that on me.
Please.
That'd be crazy.
Oh, episode 3 is just that one chapter of Fire Emblem 7 where you have to recruit Nino because you're just holed up in a castle and it's terrible.
Or it's the one from Binding Blade where you have to fucking protect the Troubadour as you have to get Roy over to the Troubadour in the middle of a fucking
about the
cavalry.
the
ride.
worst
I did
one
not
from-
stand using Roy.
Real quick, shout out to the first one from Fates where you have to like rescue, was it like Donnelly up on a cliffside, and it's just like they have a bunch of cavalry, like Pegasus Knights, and you're like stuck in a corner, and like you have to go up the hill, but you only have one flying unit.
This
And,
this
like-
even has the modern Fire Emblem time travel reset for if you fuck up. I love that. I love this show. I'm in on this show. I think the structure of this second episode into the third, because at the end of the second episode they are captured. You have introduced Camilla and Zeke, and then you go into the third episode where you break down the plan and they enact the plan. They go through the whole process. This shit fucking rules. Was not expecting fantasy military tactic in my romance, and yet the romance part is also still fine. It's great. What a goofy little boy we got over there. Rave's not obnoxious to a point that I want to strangle it yet. That's impressive. Good job, show.
Rave certainly is Tebow, but like not as bad yet.
Yeah.
She threw a boat. 10 out of 10. But yeah, this shows it's just fun. There's just so much fun that happens between them. I love the post credit scenes that are him baking for the scenes that happened in that episode.
Yeah.
Or because it's like, where was he off? Oh, he was off making croissants. Oh, here he was making
Making
this.
the tea.
And then like you see at the end it goes and now I'm gonna go to scene that happened 12 minutes ago, and I'm like, ha, it's funny. I like that. It's a good bit. It's also just watching him bake is a good time. He's a silly guy.
He also has a level of like depth to him that we haven't gotten to dig into yet that I'm really interested in. They've set him up to be an interesting character. Yeah.
I love the thing they do where he does a golden retriever boy thing, and she's like, okay, but I remember him being an emotionless prick. What happened?
And then
Like,
she's
make
starting to
us
slowly
forward.
piece it together, where she's like,
Mhm.
oh yeah, there was that terrible massacre that happened in their history. That might have something to do with it. Oh,
Also, the show's opening is rad.
we could say that about a lot of our shows, but yeah, I agree.
Well, yeah, but yeah, a lot of these are fucking fantastic.
There's also something about this art style that is. This is the JC Staff show, right? Yes. This is not like, but like this art style is JC Staff. I just checked. But like this art style is very interesting. It's almost at sometimes like pop-up book. And they do that thing occasionally where they will jut her out of like further into frame and like cut her out that I think is neat. They do the thing where they like silhouette useless characters in like big settings. This show has a lot of charm to it. I like it a lot. It's just not any higher because other shit's the bomb.
Yeah.
And we have another show that's similar to that. Hey Michael.
That time how I attended an all guys mixer. So this show isn't quite what I expected it to be. It's still so I did understand the main setup was 3 dudes show up to a mixer, and they meet three girls that look like dudes. That was my whole thing. I was like, tomboys. You could still argue like one of them's a tomboy, from what we know so far.
Yeah.
But even because the purple hair, because Fuji is like sits in her room and just does manga bullshit, which is one of like the tomboys you generally see. Like the plays video games tomboy, which obviously playing video games is a thing anyone could fucking do. But like, that's whatever.
You're correct.
But yeah,
This is my
so
bad.
it very quickly sets the 3 of them into their little pairs. You have Tokiwa, who's like the main of the guys, with Suo, who's like the main of the girls. And so he was the one who was originally invited to the mixer by her. Because crazy, she likes him. She makes it really fucking obvious that he's a goddamn dumbass. It is the most obvious thing ever. And so like Suo's whole thing is that, so the reason they're all dressed as guys, is that they all work at a drag king club, essentially a host club, but like it's all girls dressing as guys, because like girls are into that.
And it's a bar.
Yeah, Also, guys are into it too.
Also,
can
guys
go there,
are into
too.
it too. Crazy.
Yeah. Is it episode 2? I think that is. Where they go?
They go
I don't remember,
into. Yeah,
think
they
it's
go
2,
into.
yeah.
Wait. So you have all the they have very so Fuji. We learn very quickly she does manga stuff. And she's a BL lover. And so much that she draws her own. So her whole setup with her and Asagi, who's my favorite. I love him. He's a little golden retriever, little bean. He's a little dingus. I love him. Is that she wants to use him as posing for her manga, while he's none the wiser. And he never connects any dots because he's stupid, and I love him. And we haven't gotten a ton with the third of them, with the final group of two. So like Suo and Tokyo, we see I think all 6 of them go to the same college, is like the whole setup. But like we know Tokyo and Suo are in like classes together. And like they know each other from school. We see a lot of them just interacting. Suo's whole thing is that lots of times she has to wear her outfit outside of work because it takes time to get into it. So she's known around campus as the Prince, a person who just appears sometimes, which leads to a really fucking great moment in episode 3 where Tokyo and Suo are having a little date at an izakaya, and she's in her the outfit, which I don't think we understand exactly why. I think it's just she felt like it. And you have 2 other people from their school who are watching the 2 of them in their little booth doing like the gayest shit ever because it's 2 dudes in a booth.
They
like
they do explain it in that she misreads his reaction in the cafeteria to her being in regular clothes. She thinks he's more comfortable if she's in drag, which is really funny and based.
But yeah. Yeah, so we get like that with them. Kohaku and Hagi, we haven't gotten as much with them, it feels like. So Kohaku, a lot of her thing is we don't know a lot about it. We know she's very girly generally, is the idea, but she's forced to be the assertive one at the drag club. Because that's the only other archetype they haven't filled
they
yet.
had left, man. I mean, they had 3 other options.
They did have the worst, the other worst, and the worst. And the worst part is you don't know which 3 you don't know which ones I did in what order there. All 3
I
of
love
them
the part
are
where
the
they're like,
worst.
I mean, we do have the Yandere one. We did try that with Suo once, but it was too successful.
And
It was
Suo's
a
too
problem.
good at it.
I also feel like they went, yeah, I threw away all the boring ones. What were you left with? Just flat pervert, just a huge fucking
The
pervert.
worst. Just the worst, man.
Actually no. I do think Chinibio would have been really funny.
Junior probably would have been fine.
It's just
That would have been
it's
peak.
too complicated for your average person.
Yeah. So like Kohaku and Haki have a thing where they end up like bumping into each other somewhere. He gives her his jacket. Also it's the stereotypical rom-com. Oh, it rained, girl has wet clothes, guy makes a comment about it. Embarrassment occurs, but only Hagi's embarrassed. Or she's like a little bit, but she's just like, eh. Also, he gives her his jacket. And then there's a whole setup where she's trying to give the jacket back, but the context of them learning about this is while she's trying to practice being the arrogant persona.
CEO.
This show's just fun.
Yeah.
These 6 are just a fun group to watch. This isn't like the greatest thing I've ever watched, but like it's a fun time. I'm having a great time with it. Also, the ED is just a TikTok dance.
Exactly what you need for this kind of show.
Yeah.
I did not first episode and a half, I would say, I really wasn't digging Hagi. Of the 6, he was my least favorite. The conversations in the cafe, like the restaurant they go to, and just how he starts to think things through, I actually really like his character, because his character almost serves as straight guy figuring out that it's okay to not be so straight. Like, in a way of, like, you've been taught to be very particular types of, like, traits and tropes, and so you're so afraid of other things, and you go, why do I think she's hot in men's clothing? I don't do I not like that? But then you also get those really wonderful moments where that kind of mentality pays off because they're in the restaurant and she goes, you know, guys eating sweet things, and he goes, does that matter? Don't people just eat food? Which
Sweets
is
are good, man. I love sweets.
Sweets are sweets. I'm starting to warm up on him. The other two are phenomenal though.
All that reminds me of
I
is
love
just,
Asagi.
and Austin will get this reference, and Mason might too. My Vanitas cosplay at Youmacon a couple years ago. This is just that realization, but like for Amber, that it's like, he's a little gay, but like that's kind of cool. And if you want pictures, no.
I think I saw
but-
it when you did it.
I think you guys saw it at
Find
one point,
some.
but it's buried deep in the recesses somewhere of my phone or Amber's.
We'll
But,
find it. You can put it on stream next week.
Absolutely fucking not. But yeah, like I love the character. I like the character interaction of the show. Suo is like MVP of the show for me. She is wonderful. I also like that we do get like a little bit of her just being in her normal girl's attire to like be like, hey, she does just wear her actual clothes sometimes. I posted this in the group chat earlier, but I love the side characters who are watching from afar that are the comedic relief. Those two girls that are in the class and they're in like the diner going like, oh shit, it's the prince. Wait, are they really just friends? Wait, she kissed it. Wait, whoa, new updates on the prince. Is he gay? Is he bi? I don't know how to feel about this. I love those characters because we saw them in was it Senpai? They had like the three random girls. I forget what show it was. But we had like the three random girls who were always talking about stuff in one of the shows we watched one season. But I love a good like pair of girls that are just like watching the mess unfold. Yeah, I think like it's done an okay job of establishing A with B, A with A, B with B, C with C, and then starting to slowly build those relationships. And I like that they're doing it separate from each other, right? And that like it's not forcing them all to be in group settings constantly and interact in little bits. It's like, okay, they can hang out with this person separately and go see a movie or go get food or something or go return this jacket because they got caught out in the rain. They happen to run each other. I also love that the third guy, what's his name? With Kohaku, Hagi, was like,
Yeah.
how come you guys got dates? They called you back and I'm here waiting and getting nothing. Like this is bullshit. And then like the next day runs into them. But yeah, so far I've been enjoying this show. I think it's really cute. It's pretty likable. The characters are pretty good. They're a good time. They're just a bunch of gremlins who are problems.
I genuinely thought that we were going to go that they're gonna go like the whole series up until like, for the first 2 episodes, that they're gonna go the whole series without like ever showing the actual like feminine versions of all 3 of the main casts, and I'm honestly kind of glad that they didn't, because it kind of just like brings you back into oh yeah, they do have lives outside of work. That is actually the kind of thing that I'm most thankful of. It's like they're not like this like all the time because they're working 7 days a week, right?
I'm also
Yeah, we do have the visuals. They show
In
it
the
in the
opening.
opening
Yeah.
what all 3 of them look like. So like I was like, we're gonna get them eventually. I'm surprised we've only gotten one so far.
Yeah,
Like,
I thought it was
when we
gonna be
see
like
Fuji at her home, I expected her to be in the with like the hair
I'm-
down glasses.
I'm
I
That
thought it was
really
gonna be
you
like
just
a
wear-
last episode like
Sometimes you just wear sweatshirts and like some
Close
sweatpants at home, man.
I'm really happy they also, because we, obviously, like we said in the opening, you see the designs. I'm really happy they explain for Fuji, where's the wig? Answers that question, because oh boy, is that design fucking different. Wild.
Yeah, all 3 of them. They go, yeah, it's a wig.
They're having a time.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. There's just a quote posted in our Discord that Mason and Austin should check that says, and I quote, "You know, it's not fair. John's autism gives him energy, and mine just makes me stupid." And I think that's absolutely appropriate.
holy shit.
But I'm sorry for derailing.
No,
but
you're
I saw
good.
that and I died.
But the interactions between like all 3 of them, and especially how they don't like rely on like, oh, we gotta meet as
As a
again
group.
as a 6-piece to like make these
Yeah.
to make these interactions and relationships work. They're just like finding time with each other completely separately. Although it also is like a nice refresher, because a lot of times when I'm at work, I listen to a lot of like absolute like brain rot like manga like dubs on the on YouTube. And not like, actual manga dubs, but it's just like, individual short form like 10-minute comics.
Mhm.
And it's all just like, oh, bad guy just like comic asshole and stuff. And every time there's like a mixer in one of those. There's like some guy just invited them so that he can look good, and the other two just like he gets to clown on them, and it's just like very refreshing to see that like a mixer where even if the first interactions don't necessarily go the way that the three guys expect, that they just keep going because they're just like, well, let's see where it goes.
Finally, an anime that truly captures the real bi experience as a university student. We gotta love it. Yeah, like Michael said, can't believe that this man is so dense. She looked him dead in the eyes and went, "I want to go on a date, just you and me."
In episode at the end of episode 1, he goes, "Yo, why did you invite me to that mixer?" I'm like, bro.
Why do you think she invited you to the mixer?
Damn, it's crazy.
She wants you to mix her.
Hey, yeah.
This show's I like this show a lot. This show's also really good. It's a shame that shit's banger this season.
Show's very good. I was just very surprised at how funny this show could be at points. The entire section of I have to get the right pages away from Asagi because I cannot let this boy see anything.
I wonder how.
I
wonder
can't wait
how
to
they-
learn he's
I wonder-
actually a fucking dirty fucking rascal.
I
Like,
wonder-
learn he's actually the fucked up shit.
Also, they're perfect for each other because he stumbled upon the right dialogue conversation that just perfectly lines up with what she writes for her boys in her manga. That's great. That's exactly what you want from him.
I love Fuki too. It's just like, oh, wait, he's reenacting that scene. Wait, what comes? Oh no.
Danger.
Oh, need
Warm
to
towel.
abort.
Warm towel.
And he just go over to him going, no, bedtime.
Are we ready to talk about it? That's right.
I
Orb.
don't know what. Oh, it's Orb.
Orb.
So in a galaxies far, far away,
Poland.
um,
John, you
we-
know that, right? You know it's Poland, right?
I know it's
The
Poland, but
Empire of
the
P.
galaxy far, far away. Poland. It's so
It is pretty far away.
it is set in 15th century Poland, where our main character Rafal is a young 12-year-old boy in school, and he is kind of like he's very smart for his age, because he thinks that everyone around him is just kind of a clown. That
He
is
can
his
read.
age. Wild.
He can do a little more than read. Don't sell the kid short, my god.
But I'm
And
saying,
he
this
is
is 15th century Poland. He
That's
can
true.
read.
reading is for smart people, not plebs.
Sorry, he can read more than the Bible.
And he is asked to by his foster father to pick up like one of his old friends from however long ago, and who's named Hubert, happens to stumble across like some of his. He notices that Rafal carries around an astrolabe and carries around a notebook, and he just starts like grilling him about like, oh, what are you interested in, and eventually blackmails him into assisting him with his research, because blackmailing children is something that we can all get behind, obviously. And Rafal's like previously set up that he's just gonna go to university. He's gonna study theology and be a good little sea religion boy. And he gets dragged out to an open field by Hubert, where he like looks at the stars, and Hubert drops the bomb that he kind of believes in heliocentrism, the sun being the center of the system, not the Earth, because God loves the Earth and wants the world where his creations live on to be the center of everything and special. That's the gist of the explanation that they give. And then Rafal was like, "You're capping. It's not beautiful." And they have this like long conversation about like whether or not a theory or a concept is or a worldview is like beautiful or logical enough. And then like he kind of storms off. He kind of trips like head over heel over a puddle, and then he has this like epiphany about like oh, if the mountains went over my head, but those are still there. It's a perspective thing. Maybe we're moving, but it doesn't appear that we're moving. Relative to the stars. And he goes home, draws up a bunch of like, maybe it's like this, maybe it's like this. No, that can't be right. And then settles on like the heliocentric, all of our planets rotating around the sun. He's like, this might be it. This might be it. So he continues on, and then talks with Hubert about it. But on the way back, it turns out that what is he? He's like an inquisitor. Is that what they called
Yeah,
it?
he's an inquisitor.
An inquisitor by name of Noak like went through Rafal's things, found his like heliocentric like drawings, which is blasphemy and very much disallowed.
Austin, what
And
do you mean?
start-
His name's not Nowak. That's Nanami.
And Hubert, who had previously been arrested once for blasphemy, basically just takes the bullet for him, pushes him away, and then gets executed for blasphemy. Rafal then goes up to a mountain, uncovers some of his teachings, and then proclaims that he is going to university to study astrology instead, which both raises the eyebrows of his foster father, and eventually Noak again, who keeps like grilling him, was like, "Are you sure you're not into this blasphemy? Are you sure?" And just keeps asking him. Eventually, his foster father finds some not so burnt scraps of his work, sells them out to Noak, and then Rafal gets arrested. And Rafal basically is told a deal by Noak is like, if you renounce your heliocentrism and your desire to study at your hearing tomorrow, then we will reinstate your ability to go to college, and we will not torture you, and you will not get a strike on your record. And he, goes up onto the hearing, looks at the piece of paper with his Harvard acceptance letter on it, and shreds it, saying that he believes in heliocentrism, and so he's about to get tortured and stuff. But then he and Noak are talking in the cell, and he kills himself by ingesting poppy seeds, and then they burn his corpse on a cross.
So
And the show goes on.
And the show goes
and
on.
we see these two prisoners who come across the grave afterwards, and like the hidden teachings and everything. I think an important thing to mention too is like when his dad finds so he tries to burn all his work that he works on at his home, and his dad finds one scrap in there and fixes the calculations that were incorrect, and then leaves it on his desk. To which he talks with his father about. He's like, "Hey, you got to make sure you watch your work burn to the ground before you leave. Make sure you burn everything." But then immediately turns around as the Inquisitor comes in and says, "Hey, crazy, he was friends with Hubert there and got burned at the stake. He definitely wasn't covering for him, right? And studying heliocentrism, because you already have one strike against you, Mr. Teacher. And if you have a second one and we find out you're an accomplice, we're gonna have to burn you at the stake, right? So, like alive. And when you're ashes, you don't get to when God comes down and raptures people, and your body is not intact and you are ash, you are not brought to salvation. So you're just left in nothingness, right? Which, while these people are believing this heliocentrism, they're also still religious people inherently, right? Like theology still drives the world, and this is still their teachings
Yeah.
and their knowledge base. So it's like it is a very serious threat to say, like, hey, if you get caught, your existence is wiped from eternity in the heavens and earth, basically, right? And so the fact that like that pressured him into pushing his child for this, but his child is so dead set on saying, hey, I don't have to be the one to discover it, I just have to be a message to push it forward, and that's the most important thing, to the point where he even like the Inquisitor literally is like shell shocked by this kid, basically, who's like, yes, I am going to kill myself for the sake of my research, right?
He gets fucking shell shocked twice because he goes,
gets
"Oh shit,
he
you're
first thinks he
trying to
drinks the
kill
poppy
me."
seeds.
Yeah, he's like, "Shit, you're trying to kill me," and then he goes, "No, it's not your drink." And he goes, "That's even more fucked up. What do you
No!
mean you're killing yourself?" So there are two ways this goes, right? Either Rafal is dead and we're moving on to new characters, or his father helped him do this to fake a death, and they have some way around this. The only thing that gives me that idea is that there is time from when Rafal gets caught, or they start to pick up on him, where he has to write that note and put that note back in the case, right? Up in the mountains. So there is a little bit of wiggle room. And I would find it really odd for the show to go, yeah, his foster father adjusted his notes, was into heliocentrism, and the fear of God made him full rat him out. Because largely, what we've seen from these people who study heliocentrism is that while they do sometimes cave, it doesn't keep them away forever. And in my mind,
knowledge, yeah.
in my mind, it's like his foster father would know best how to get him out of the eyes of the church to let him keep studying. That's my guess on this. Man, I can't fucking believe they got to the reveal of his foster father studying heliocentrism, and my brain didn't go, yeah, duh, he was friends with Hubert. They set that shit up right away, and it
He
still
probably
caught
helped
me
teach
off
him.
guard. It's yeah, dude. I was not paying close enough attention in episode 2 and 3, to the OST. I don't know how much it plays in those two episodes, but the track that fucking dominates episode 1, where Rafal is in his faking mode, and it's like that track that plays, like it's almost like a walking track they play, because they play it a lot while he's in motion, or when he's like putting on the face. That track fucking rules. This show's OST is so good.
I'm
Harpsichord
genuinely
is
so
based.
mad that the actual opening has not released yet, so we only have the opening because this opening fucking slaps.
You can find it on Spotify as a podcast episode.
Ooh.
You just
That's
gotta,
my favorite
you just
thing
gotta
people
search.
do.
You just gotta search its individual title, which is Kaiju. That's how you find it. On the bright side, this band fucking rules, and I found some other dope ass songs from them because of this.
Oh, Second Action.
Yeah.
There's like one song from them that I just like very very much remember, but I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah. So this show has like episode. Oh, I need to talk about this because the thing that watching this show that made me go, oh shit, we're in. Like this is a show. Is the first torture scene where he looks at him and he's like, I only have so many fingernails and toenail, and he fucking just empties the whole ass bag on the table, and he goes, the best part about this, or maybe the worst, is that toenails grow back.
He's like giving the count. Because like my brain didn't connect what he meant originally when he's saying a name and then a number,
Yeah.
and then he says 127. And does I go, oh
Yeah.
oh what the
He could be lying for all it's worth. Those might just be a bunch of fucking toenails he has.
If he is lying,
Why?
Novak's really good at it. I feel like
No.
Novak's fucking awesome. I love Novak.
Novak's
It was
such a
so
good ass
metal.
character.
The fact we open on him like ripping one off too, and it's just like, no, we're not going to cut away from this. We're going to show you the brutality that we're going to go to lengths of
God,
for these
the
people who are
bit with
heretics.
him and the kid is like,
I got a daughter your age. You should value your family. Oh shit,
Hey,
really?
Oh, this was your dad?
family.
Oh, my bad, buddy.
Oh, dude.
RL champ.
Have-
Have a good day at school
Have
tomorrow.
fun with his corpse.
Also, like the opening scene of the show, I'm pretty sure is him using the pear.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is crazy. This show's nuts. I love this
Yup.
show.
Also,
Show's
medieval
wild.
torture devices are fucking horrifying.
Also, the way they visualized, like the music they use in the visual, like Rafal looking up at the starry sky. Starry
Dude,
sky's fucking
The
awesome.
way
I
you can
love
see
starry
people who
sky.
had the pear in their mouths by the scars on their faces.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why Hubert had the fucked up face.
But
It's oh god, this
this show
show's
does a
so
good job of showing and telling, is how I put it. If there's a threat to be had, it will be followed through with. You don't fuck with the church.
Closest thing to.
Also,
Go ahead, Mason.
I was just gonna say, like, Madhouse has been kind of iffy for the past
Mhm.
couple of years. Holy
They-
fuck, they're killing it with this. I thought this was wit.
Madhouse puts out like one incredible show a year, roughly, and usually they put out one or two other shows that are okay. Like, because recent things that come to mind, Bibliophile Princess. But
Dang.
but you go back, Sunny Boy, like they have shit. There's another big one they did that was really Free Run.
Yeah.
So like they do like they cook when they cook, but if you go back like 5 years ago, when Madhouse put out an anime, you knew it was gonna be incredible because like they just had that renown. And I'm not saying they lost it. It's just perhaps maybe more shows need to be like Madhouse, where they put out one huge fucking banger and then put out some cool like things that aren't as good, but you know they're just making some adaptations. Maybe everybody doesn't have to be Mappa.
Mappa shouldn't be Mappa. let's be real.
No.
But
But what the thing I was gonna say is, the only thing that I can think of in my brain that this even remotely feels like is Vinland Saga. It has
Yes,
that.
yeah.
It has that like historical fiction twist that isn't afraid to go dark. That the characters compel you. The themes are right there the whole way through. And even the characters that the show makes you know are bad people who you should not like are so well done that you can't help but enjoy the performance you have from them when they're on screen.
yes, like Novak is such an interesting character because every time he's on screen, you get so uncomfortable and so nervous. But he's also like so charismatic about it.
They're gonna show his fucking. They're
hard.
gonna show him and his daughter, and she's gonna be
Yep.
important. I'm already quite confident from the opening.
Yep, it's gonna hurt.
And it's gonna fucking and then they're gonna have a relationship that's gonna be fucking perfect, and then he's gonna die somewhere in this fucking 25 episode
Yep.
anime season, and I'm gonna be like, ah.
Oh, I have never seen a character more where I'm just like, you are going to have the most painful death possible, and I'm going to be both really happy and really sad.
The
when it
future devil
happens.
wouldn't offer any price for the contract with this man.
I can think of one other one, Mason, and like I said, boy, Vinland Saga.
Yup. Yup.
I really think that the way that they set up the first like 3 episodes into like killing off the main character like that quickly was so interesting, and the storytelling that went from like tortured introduction to introduction, lighthearted like school scene, all the way to we're burning the main character's corpse was incredibly well done. And I really, it makes me really curious as to like how do they, like what exactly they're going to do to continue from here. Like how far in the future are we necessarily going? Are they gonna keep killing off main characters?
Like
Or-
Reform.
I fully
almost
took this to be
like-
fucking like to your eternity. We just
Yeah,
have
I
like
was just
7
about
main
to say,
casts.
to your eternity.
That's
Like,
not
it
fair.
very
He's
much gives
still
that
there
idea.
the whole time. He just
Yeah, heliocentrism's here the whole time.
True.
No, you're right. The orb is here the whole
orb is
time.
The idea is,
real.
I think, because I assume the concept is that because like he
And
has on his
Nami.
knowledge, then there's going to be another group that gets to a certain point,
Yeah.
then they have to pass on that knowledge to, because eventually you hit you hit a point of stagnation where you can't learn more
Yeah.
than you already had. The technology of that era does not give you the information you need to finish this. So you need to pass your knowledge on over and over till you eventually prove it. Which, funnily enough, I'm pretty sure if we proved heliocentrism, or we had a person generally, I
think
know,
it's
because Galileo just kind of
Copernicus,
said, "Hey,
or
it
is-
probably happens like
Is it
forever." again."
Copernicus was the one that
Okay.
proved it. And Copernicus proved it in like the 16 or 1700s.
I don't.
wanna say.
I was gonna say I don't remember
Hold on.
if it's one of them starts it between Copernicus and Galileo, and the other one finishes it. I think I just don't remember which one's which.
Galileo starts it, Copernicus finishes it, from
Yeah.
what I understand. I could be wrong.
And
though.
now they're Yu-Gi-Oh cards. What Mason thinks about that, like I said though, like I can see a path where Rafal is still alive, but I'm also not gonna be upset if he's not, because, dude, like you can make this work both ways. That's what's so good about
Yeah.
this, right? And I would be down to see where this story goes. Dude, this kid, I don't blame him for getting unnerved by Rafal in that jail cell. That kid's a fucking menace. If you are an inquisitor
kid's
who
a
serves the
sociopath.
church. Oh, dude, the moonlight in the window. Oh,
That scene's so good, dude. Oh my god. Just something about this show does so much for, like, you really get that introspection on the characters, and those moments in this show they hit so different. It's just so good.
It's
fucking
just
Hu-
fucking rad.
fucking
Oh
Hu-
my goodness.
Hubert's
Like
voice actor
I
is
went to do my
Eisen.
PR. I was like, I can't just in my brain I was like, there's no way I don't just have this at one. This show did something spectacular in its 3 episodes.
Again, if it was not for the charm of Blue Box for me,
That's
like
fair.
the argument for me is I've never sat down, watched a show, and so immediately did the show make me go, God, I wish I was reading the fucking manga so I could get more. That was the problem.
Yeah.
Like
Also,
the Blue Box thing, and you have the whole ensemble cast. Like those are the only things pushing it forward. This is a very close 1 and 2.
Also, I was wrong. Copernicus started the model.
Galileo.
Galileo proved it because
Okay.
he observed Venus.
There we go. I knew it was one way. I just didn't know which way.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's so hard to prove such a theory because there's no way to like with their technology to like actually like prove it other than theory and math, right?
I do really like the idea of, yeah, but if you think about it this way, you draw it out, it's nonsense. But if you think about it this way, you draw it out, it's perfect. Wouldn't that be
Mhm.
so nice? And it's like there is the little bit in my brain where you
Makes so
see
much
it,
sense.
you see it, and you're like, God, it is just perfect. I don't blame
it's-
them.
Like science is so like perfect in certain ways that like everything just has to line up the
Oh.
exact same way, and it's just like he says, like this model, while being praised by the church, isn't truly beautiful, right? Whereas this linear revolving around the sun system, now that is a beautiful idea.
The
Where not only are
It's-
we spinning, the Earth is spinning.
It's so
Oh,
interesting seeing the like going from the like fucking mandala that they make to show the geocentric model and then the heliocentric model a few minutes later. It's so neat to just see that.
the epiphany that Rafal has as he trips down the mountainside, and he goes, "Those mountains look different, but I move." Fuck, that is the epitome of scientific discovery and like critical thinking in the moment, right? This show's great.
He had his Newton moment before Newton was a thing.
Also, the ED is the ending, the OP, the ending, just the entire, all of it is phenomenal.
This is the most Ranking of Kings second opening I've ever seen.
Visually, they figured it out. They figured out all
Yeah.
openings forever visually.
It's that one director. That's just what they do. Because they also did the JJK second opening.
We love Yoshika here.
I think we are good. Mason, let's kick on over to Yakuza Fiance.
So Yakuza Fiance is a show.
It is.
So
It's
we
exactly
follow-
what it says it is. Maybe.
Yeah. So it is a show by Studio Dean.
Yeah, it is.
Never mind, I'm not making that joke. And it follows Yoshino Some, who is the granddaughter of a Yakuza boss in the country. And her grandpa goes, "Hey, so I arranged a marriage with my boy over here, his adoptive grandson. So you want to head over to Tokyo?" She's like, "Fuck, I guess. Sure.
I'll be home in a week.
I'll be home in a week." And she gets there, and at first, the boy that she is arranged to marry is just super good golden retriever, real nice boy. But also, it kind of seems like everyone knows he's a Yakuza, because he certainly is well known as part of this very large Tokyo-based family. And then as they're going out one night, she gets attacked, I believe, and he proceeds to almost kill this guy by just beating the ever-loving shit out of him. We then get him telling her, "Hey, no, I'm a Yakuza. I couldn't give less of a fuck about you. I'm just doing this for the family. You can go sell yourself if you want. At least you can be useful there."
You're kind of fucking boring and a hassle.
Yeah.
Whoops.
You're kind of a bitch. I don't like you. And she goes, "Sick, cool." And she calls her grandpa. She goes, "Hey, I'm coming home. This is the worst." And he goes, "Okay, so I see what happened here. What you're going to do is you're going to make him fall in love with you and then dump his ass and make him hate life, because we are nothing if not petty in this family." She proceeds to bring out the fact that she is the granddaughter of a Yakuza boss in school, and tells him to fuck off, basically. And he goes, "Oh my god, I would die for you."
You forgot the part where she sells one of her kidneys and drops
Oh,
the
yeah.
money in front of him because he told her to go sell her body, so she did.
Yes. That is a thing I actively forgot about, and they
Not in the
still
way he
do
intended,
reference
though.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then the next two episodes just kind of revolve around random shit that they get into. I genuinely do not remember much about the second episode, because it's just a lot of them
There's a girl who's the daughter of a business that's a part
That was
of a
the third
sub-fam-
episode.
Nope.
Oh, that is the second.
That's
Okay,
the second.
so
The third episode is the friend coming up.
oh yeah, okay.
Square.
So the second episode
Yeah.
just revolves around one of the other Tokyo Yakuza families, the daughter of the current boss, and the boss have just kind of like poofed. They're not there. We don't know where they're at. That's weird. We should find them. And Yoshino. I meant to say as well, the good boy is, as always, because it's a Yakuza show, his name is Kirishima. Because of course it is. It always is. She is walking about town and happens to pass by a club and sees her, the daughter. And so she calls the family and goes, "Hey, or she calls Kirishima and goes, "Hey, I think I found her. She just walked into this really high profile club." And he goes, "Cool, I'll be there in 5 minutes." They walk inside. He pushes his way into their private room. Some guys attack him. It doesn't go well for them, but he kind of holds himself back because he's trying to impress Yoshino. And then as there are other people start hunting for this daughter, they push their way in, and one of them elbows Yoshino to the floor. So Kirishima starts going on a rampage and almost kills several people. He takes a dude's eye out with a fork. A lot of shit happens. He also gets stabbed in the leg, and he continues to fight with this knife in his leg, and then goes over and checks on Yoshino afterwards, after she knocks a dude out with a bottle. She's great.
It's her hair dryer.
Yeah,
With her hair
with her
dryer.
hair dryer, excuse me. So they have to go get a new one. And then the third episode is her going, man, I fucking hate this place. I hate being part of this family. Kirishima's kind of the worst.
Big Yakuza meeting happens.
Big Yakuza meeting happens.
Names are given.
Yeah, we get the entirety of this clan of Yakuza for like every, like, from the top down of the hierarchy on it. Turns out the current head of the clan, Yoshino's grandpa, and Kirishima's adoptive grandpa are all really close friends, and they were like all in the same family when they were coming up through the ranks. And now they're kind of like shifty as fuck at each other, but they still try to act like they're friends because Yakuza shit. While this is happening, Yoshino is texting her childhood friend, who is also part of the family. His name, I know.
Guy with squares for
Absolutely.
eyes.
Yes, his name is Suo, Azami Suo, and he goes, so like, from everything that you said, this guy sucks. Do you want me to kill that guy for you?
Because I can kill that guy for you.
'Cause
I could kill him.
that.
I could
John
kill him.
Mulaney email be like,
Yeah. He ends up.
I saw that clip again recently too.
YouTube algorithm, baby, it always hits you.
At, they end up where she is.
They're at like
kind
a
of runs off.
They're at like a hotel, and he steps out, and Kirishima shows up,
Yes.
and that's where we end.
Yes. This show is interesting. I also neglected to mention that the third episode just almost starts with
Right.
basically a full-on sex
Sorry,
scene.
it starts with Kirishima giving oral sex
Yeah, he is.
while talking about his fiance.
Yes.
To the
And
woman
he's
he's
like-
giving oral sex to.
Yes. It's so funny, honestly, because
She's
the
kind of
thing is
based
really-
for it though.
Yeah, because he's like, I don't know if she likes me, and I'm really concerned about that. I've never felt that way before. And she's like, can you not do this right now? Fuck it. Okay, let's talk about this.
Do you not realize what you have right
All
here?
right, she's like, all right, teddy boy, right here. Come on, let's talk about it.
Open up that can of worms, I guess. But let's just get right into it.
So
Open up the can of worms next to the can of worms.
I want to
Yep.
I want to get this out real quick because I have this fairly low. I think my biggest. I'm not sold on anything yet here. I really liked the end of episode 1. I really liked the idea of this premise. I think my only issue is this is another one of those shows where the premise can't be. It is tough to keep this premise going. While also trying to make it like an interesting back and forth romance, right? Because the more that they do bits where it's like, oh, but does she actually like Kirishima? The more it worsens it for me. Because no, don't fucking take this guy for all he's worth and be a girl boss. I want that for you.
Yes,
And
queen.
so like I'm not really sold on the like I don't really care about the potential romance that could bud on the battlefield between these two. I also think it is odd that she is so acutely against Yakuza, and that her childhood friend is also one. And I understand the differences. Most likely, she doesn't want to marry a Yakuza guy, and she doesn't view her childhood friend as a potential romance partner at all. But boy, does it feel a little weird for her to be like, oh, he's got the tattoos. Oh, he does all these horrible things. When she is so clearly used to it all. Like, it's an odd, for me, it's an odd, like, establishment of this is her character and how she reacts to Kirishima. This is her character and how she relates to her previous life.
So I will say, I think I can understand that part of it simply because of the fact that they do make the very clear distinction that they are an Osaka family.
Yeah.
They are out in the country, and that is very different from Tokyo Yakuza. Because big city versus country, there's a lot of differences there.
Yeah.
Which I can understand that.
I
But
feel like they
it doesn't
also
do a good
mentioned-
job of saying that. So fair. Sorry.
Yeah, I feel like they also mentioned something about like Yoshino's like Yakuza family is kind of like the only Yakuza family in like relevant Yakuza
Hokkaido.
family in Osaka.
Yeah.
Osaka.
Much
they-
more peaceful there. Whereas
Yeah.
like there's just like multiple warring factions in Tokyo, so there's like it's a lot grittier, and like
Yeah. And
it
they
more accurately portrays.
And we see it
the-
too, right?
And-
It's like
yeah,
in the
and-
conference they have like that passing of the paper. It's like, hey, shit's going down. Here's the plan, basically. You know, here's who's suspect. Here's who's trying to cause problems.
And they also imply that like a lot of the stuff that probably happened for her protection that would have been very aggressive ninjas was done without her knowing. But for me it's just like there is a little bit of a disconnect between who she is and the things she starts to be willing to do and like her boundary line. It's odd is all. I think really I'm just not fully sold on this one yet. And I think it's just because everything else I'm really in on, mostly.
No, I think that's fair. I'm kind of in the same boat where it's like it's got to do just like a little bit more, right? Like because it's like you have like the dynamic characters, you have like the good setup, but like it needs to like establish what the goal is besides just figuring out their relationship, right? Which I guess is kind of where it's at right now. And we had a bit of that, right? With like they go in on that meeting and they find this like girl who's trying to run away, after they just robbed him by cheating in blackjack or poker, right? And then having them
Can't
both
fuck with
kick
the Filipino mafia.
and having them both kick ass, and then going, "Hey, here's your cut from the Filipino mafia for getting their money back," because they can't prove that you stole the money because technically it was in a fair game, but they know you stole the money. So
Like they have stuff
Like I
with
said, it's-
Kirishima's adopted father cooking in the back of like
mhm.
things not being the way they seem. I just don't think I don't think I'm interested in everything here for me.
Mm-hmm. But we'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, it's definitely not going this week. It's definitely got a lot of good to it. And it definitely does feel that fantasy of, hey, let's not try to fix him. Let's let him ruin us.
I see you've also seen Guard's
the
video.
Good video. What do you mean? That was definitely not Garnt's video.
Look, the only reason to keep this
It was
show around
absolutely
for me
Simmons'
is to
video.
see how many funky eyes we end up with.
You got
I was a-
square.
I love
Where's-
the
where's
fucking art
X,
style of
triangle,
the
and
show,
circle?
though. The art style of the show is so good, though.
No, we gotta
It
get
starts
that
out
one,
so
sh-
fucking.
that one
It's-
girl from that one show a couple of seasons ago that had 2 skulls for eyes.
True. This is the art style is really unique and interesting. Why the fuck do we have such a nice that Tokyo water tower? What the fuck were we cooking?
Someone cooked really hard on that. A single animator spent like 3 days animating.
Michael Austin.
But show's just neat. I guess like I like her. I think there's a lot of good fun stuff we can get with her. Not a big fan of him yet. He's fine. I don't know. I think what my issue with the show is that I don't see us like getting character growth from him. I don't know if that he doesn't feel like he's built as a character for that to really happen. Obviously, you don't need every
He
character to
looks
like
like this is
grow
the
in a
biggest
story.
third
It might be
game.
more about just her. but also don't know what is she gonna grow into here. If she grows into letting him do his shit, that'd be possibly the worst thing to do. She's just kind of vibing, being herself at this point, and he's just being weird.
Yeah, I really I think Yoshino's a very interesting character because you also you have like the very clear divide of like, you know, as we mentioned earlier, like her Yakuza life, her life in Osaka was like pretty cozy and not really like very much like the Yakuza in Tokyo. But then she also just goes and sells her kidney in the first episode, right? That was like a little bit weird to me, and probably the only thing that like really off-put me about her like character, because I think that she's very, very intricate and very, very interesting, especially when you consider that her grandpa's kind of like also kind of a shit guy.
He's fucking here's the thing.
Fucking his homies.
The two of them have maybe the most interesting characters or the most interesting and diverse characters in the show, and I think that's also a problem. Is that a lot of the other Yakuza guys are very stereotypical, bland Yakuza guys.
Yeah,
That
Like-
is fair.
I'm not terribly sold on Kirishima. He's just like, I just wasn't a terribly big like. Okay, cool. Seeing the difference between just like happy-go-lucky guy to an absolute like demon was cool, but like I wasn't terribly sold on him itself, and I thought that I very much like the storylines of episode 2 more so than 3, but 3 is kind of like half
Set
of
up,
the storyline, so
yeah.
we're kind of it's set up for episodes 4, probably maybe 5. So I can definitely forgive that.
I think it's so weird to have such a hyper focus on the school life and then it vanishes. Because I thought I kind of dug the interactions with Yoshino and like the other girls in the school, and like there is a very interesting like Yakuza in high school dynamic that I thought
Hold it.
could be neat. I'm interested to see if they ever go back to some of that stuff. It doesn't feel like it. I don't think it's bad because I think it works like an intro set piece again to like show the difference between small town and big town, especially in school stuff and what you'd go through. Yeah, it's I'm mad on the show. That's just where I am. If we got no other thoughts, it's time to go to the show made by the goats. That's right, guys. Studio Nut has brought you Negative Positive Angler. Do you guys like to fish? I suck at it, so like not really.
Well, let's reel it in, Sean. Let's reel it
But
in.
you know what? Thank you. But you know what? I'm kind of digging this. Let's talk about the absolute mess that is Negative
Really asking
Positive
for that one,
Angler.
John.
So we have our main character, Tsunehiro Sasaki, who has the worst life. And we'll learn a little later that some of this is kind of his fault, but also, boy, sometimes you don't get a break. So Hiro's in debt, and so he has debt collectors coming after him. And he also has 2 years left to live because he has brain cancer. And so he's kind of gotten himself in this point where he thinks about his life, and he goes, I don't really have to pay off the debt. I don't really have to resolve any of my problems because I'm gonna die and it's gonna resolve itself. It doesn't do that. Not like a spoiler for the show, but like you have debt and you die. Sometimes it doesn't just clean that up, but we'll let him keep thinking that he's gonna be okay. And so Hiro goes to gamble because he's got a little bit of money and Pachinko's a thing he can do. And he is in the gambling hall, and the debt collectors come and they go, hey man, we need your money. And he goes, right, I got that, I'm out of here. And they chase after him, even though he's just fucking hit a jackpot in the casino. And they go on a wild fucking goose chase, chasing him across the entire city. And then he jumps off a
Scooby-Doo ass
bridge.
shit.
He jumps off a bridge. Sorry, I forgot. This episode opens with him trying to hang himself, which also doesn't work. He fucks it up. But so he's being chased by debt collectors, and he decides, fuck it, I'm gonna jump in the river and die. And then he gets fished out by some cool people. A really diverse looking group of people in art style, personality, and design.
Dude, we have Brazilian Miku.
Yeah, her name is Ice. ICE, Ice. So here we predominantly focus on first Hana and Takaki. Takaki, I think that's how you say his name, right?
Akaki, yeah.
Yeah.
Takaki Tsujito or whatever.
Yeah. And they're like, yo, we're on a breakwater in the middle of the ocean. You ain't going anywhere, Chief. You might as well hang out with us, and we're gonna fish. And Hero's like, I don't really get the appeal of fishing. And they go, well, you want to find out? And he's like, well, why do you fish? And everybody gives him different reasons. And then Hana goes, you're gonna fucking fish, okay? We fish here, and you're gonna like it. And she sets him up to fish. And I don't... Do any of you remember the type of fish he pulls up when he first pulls it up? Because it is perhaps one of my favorite lines, where he pulls it up, and she holds the fish up, and she goes, it's a... And she just says the fish's name. That bit's wonderful. I love Hana. Because it's not a sea bass yet. Maybe it is a sea bass.
I do not remember.
I do
But,
not remember.
But they do some fishing. He does okay. He gets a catch. He then also loses some catches, and we get a big old school, and everybody gets to fish with some minnows, and they go and they get ready to... the debt collectors come midway through on a boat, to which his new fishing friends go, yo, captain that boat, fucking turn around. We don't want those people here. And he goes, gotcha, and turns it around. They go back, and Takaki's like, yo, Hero, you should cook your fish. I'll drive you home. You got a way to cook your fish. And Hero goes, yeah, I got a frying pan. And episode 1 ends with Hero's house having been demolished. Episode 2, we come back in, and Takaki's like, dude, usually this thing just doesn't happen to people. Did they, like, tell you it was gonna happen? Or are you just, like, the unluckiest man known to man? And Hero's like, oh, those guys coming to my door probably weren't debt collectors. They were probably people telling me they were going to demolish my home because I haven't paid rent in a while. That checks out. I'll be fine. Don't worry about me. And Takaki goes back, and all this fishing crew work at a convenience store as a part-time job or full-time job. And Takaki gets worried, and he's like, I'm worried about Hero. He doesn't have a place to go. He's like, feels like he's really in a rough spot. And so he winds up driving and finds him in the rain, hang out with a cat. He's like, come to my apartment, dude. You just you could stay at my apartment. It'll be fine. Also, I'm gonna take you to my boss, and you should get a job. We find out that well, we don't. So they go. So he gets ready to start working, and as he does the job interview, he's like, I don't want to work here. They're roping me into this. How can I get out of this job? Well, everybody here loves to fish, so if I pretend like I fucking hate fishing, they'll let me go. And the owner of the store goes, you hate fishing? That's great. You can cover all of our shifts when we go to fish. And he goes, fuck. And he goes, you're hired. And then Hana hears it, and she stumbles in the back room, and she goes, did you just say you hate fishing? How fucking dare you? We're going to the amusement park to fish. And he goes, what? And they go to the amusement park where they have filled what would normally be a pool with fish so that people can fish. And they have a fishing competition. This is where we get Ice, and we meet Koze. And the gang does some fishing. They have a competition. Hana goes to catch a big old fish and almost falls in doing it. And Hero pulls her back and stops her from falling into the water. And then she fucking kicks her sandals off and goes super mode. And they have a fish off contest where they're seeing who can catch the most fish. Where Hana decided she was gonna fish for size, not quantity, and so she loses. They then cook the fish, and Hiro's like, "Damn, fish is actually pretty good." Couldn't be me. And then they get ready to leave, and two of Hiro's buddies from university show up. And it turns out that Hiro's also a university student, which we found out because he did mention to Takaki that his family is paying his tuition that he's not going to school for. Boy, oh boy. That ends episode 2 as he runs away. In episode 3, we find out that Takaki's debt comes from him playing the stock market and not having a good time.
He was trying to hustle, man, in the crypto game.
To the point where
it's all the rage.
To the point where all of his buddies are like, "Yo, you don't like." They try to get him involved and stuff, and they go, "Yo, are you on that grind set? Yo, can you tell us about the grind set?" And a week later, they go,
"Tell us how to go to the moon."
And a week later, they go, "Dude, you're fucked. How fucked are you? Are you okay?" And he goes, "Nah," and he runs away because he's not. And then he finds out he has cancer. He has brain cancer. Not going good for Hiro. And a little bit in episode 2, and again in episode 3, we get some interactions with Takaki where he looks at Hiro and he goes, "Life doesn't just go away. You should kind of value it a little bit. Like, it's not something that you should easily want to throw away." Because Hiro implies a lot in episode 2 that he doesn't have a lot of time left anyway, and Takaki takes this, not knowing that he has a terminal illness, as the guy just doesn't care about his life and wants to throw it away, and that's not something he's down for, which is why he's going out of his way to try to help Hiro. Hiro doesn't go back home after he runs away. He instead spends the night in an internet cafe, and then doesn't show up for work. However, the fishing gang moves on. That's just how people's lives are. They think if he's gonna come back, he'll come back. If he doesn't, he doesn't. And they go try to fish up a big old shark for a big old prize. And they run into Hiro there, and the debt collectors there. The debt collectors see that Hiro has a big catch, and they're like, "If you catch that shark, we want the money." And Hiro runs away. And then Takaki runs after him, and they run through the entire city, and eventually it is just Hiro and Takaki chilling, kind of on a view of the ocean under, like, a bridge. And Takaki's like, "Dude, 1, if you jump from here, you're fucking dead. Don't do it. 2, I'm not even gonna give you the opportunity to, because I don't want you to die." And we get a little bit of a flash that something clearly happened to Takaki's mother that makes him very strongly value not letting people throw their lives away.
I thought it was his sister.
It could be sister. I don't know if we get an exact. It's been a bit. I'm not sure. You might be right. We'll find out more, I'm sure. And Takaki goes, "I'm gonna help you out. We're gonna set up a plan for you to pay back your debt. And I'm gonna help you with it, and I'm gonna front it, and then you're gonna pay me back later somewhere down the line. That's how we're gonna do this. And you're gonna live with me, and you're gonna start working again. Because you can live a good life." And that's where we end episode 3. This show's opening is the strangest fucking thing for this show. a wild time we have here. I will say, I like this show. I think it is a very interesting look at a person with a lot of different problems. That is also just a show about people being people, using fishing as a medium to do that. I like what it's doing. I'm interested in some of the characters and dynamics and where it's going to go with its themes. Takaki is the world's biggest bro, fucking going way out of his way to accommodate Hiro because somebody needs to help this poor guy.
He's actually such the goat for like all that he's
Yeah.
doing for Hiro. It's actually insane, especially when you consider
It
like
really is.
how little like span of time that they would have had to like know each other, and he's like already putting that much forward for him.
No.
Yeah.
But
So like,
go ahead,
okay.
Mason.
No, you go ahead because I was gonna kind of shift it a little
Okay.
bit.
I was going to say, it's not every day you meet a person who you pull out of a river who could have died, and then immediately the next thing you find out is that their house has been destroyed and they have nowhere to go, and also clearly they're in debt. Like, it's not every day you find someone whose life literally looks like it's about to be in shambles, and, like, obviously, most
About
people,
to be?
yeah, well, already, like most people in that situation would go, "Not my problem, dude. I just met you." It does take a different type of person to be like, "I'm literally gonna give you my house and home, and if you need somebody, I'm here," because it doesn't look like you got somebody.
So like, I'll talk. I know I have this show at 1 when a lot of people do not. I don't think this is the best show of the season. I don't think that at all. But this show just hit me in a certain way where it just like I fell in love with this show immediately. Like the art style is so like very almost rough, and the variations that it has in it are so cool. The OST is incredible. I love all of these characters so much. Takaki is one of my favorite characters I've ever seen. And just like it does a very, I think, good job of showing fishing can be fucking boring, but it also has the moments where it's really exciting. And I think that's so neat for the show to be able to do that well. I don't know. I really liked these first 3 episodes of this show.
Yeah. I do enjoy the show quite a bit. I love what we have with Hero with the cycle of because he's in a bad spot in life, he doesn't feel like he deserves help from people, so he always pushes it away, which we see like 4 different times in different parts of life from different people. I will say when he's in class, as he meets the 2 homies because he's trading stocks, and the 2 homies go, "Yo, you're trading stocks? I'm also trading stocks. That's kind of sick." And then they see his portfolio's failing, and they go, "Hey, yo, guys, this portfolio's failing." I'm like, "You don't just do that. That's fucked up. Why did they just like show it? Like, obviously, you don't take someone's phone. That's fucked up." But like the fact he like present it to the goddamn class, I'm like, yeah, of course he's gonna run away annoyed there.
You know what though,
This isn't a
Michael?
public thing.
I don't know how much you interacted with business bros when we were on campus. They kind of fucking do this shit.
I only knew one business bro, just because he was in band.
Yeah, a different kind of bro, a different kind of. But the people who are like really into this shit are kind of. And I don't think those 2 guys are necessarily like. I don't think they mean what they do. I think legitimately there was a moment where they were like, "Dude, this is bad."
Yeah, no, they were legitimately just worried about him.
Yeah.
But the way it gets presented is like the way they take his phone, I'm like, what the fuck? But yeah, they're like legitimately worried about him, and he takes it partially the wrong way, and also because he has so much stress and anxiety over what's happening, he immediately shuts down and runs away. And then he throws away all his sorrows at the pachinko parlor. Just probably the worst thing to go do at this point.
There's also definitely. Go ahead, John.
I definitely agree with Mason where it's like it's one of those shows that's like either it's gonna like immediately ring with you and like resonate, or you're just really not gonna be like into it, right? And I'm kind of on the other side of that coin where it's like I'm not quite as invested in it because for me it just doesn't have that direct connection, right? Like I understand a lot of the concepts it's throwing at us, right? Like it's that difficult cycle. Like once you get into a self-hating and deprecating cycle, you can't get yourself out of it sometimes. And you just kind of compound and get worse and worse and worse because you make the same decisions or worse decisions trying to, go for the, Hail Mary pass instead of just trying to check it down and get a little bit back, right? Just slowly trudge your way through because that's not the easy thing to do. It's the easiest thing to do is just to get lucky, right? It's not easy to sit down and like break things down and slowly incrementally try to like improve your life and get better. It's hard to do that and it sucks.
Especially hard
when you know you could die in 2 years, and like he tunnels so hard on that to the point where he didn't even realize that like the doctor's also saying like, hey, if you don't start treatments or if you don't get stuff to help you, like because the doctor was trying to say like, hey, you can get through this and you could get better, but at the second he mentioned it and showed him it, he just shut down completely, and he doesn't have anyone there with him to listen to that statement or to realize that there is other options, right? His family thinks that he's just doing fine at school and having a bit of a rough time, but they're still sending him money for school, that they don't know what's going on with his finances and with his personal life and all and like his medical stuff going on here. We
And,
don't even know for sure what it is,
and
right?
they're already helping him with school. So in his mind,
Mhm.
any more from
It's
them,
guilt. Yeah.
yeah, it's too much. They're already doing something for him that he's also in a way like if you
You feel
think,
like a failure,
yeah,
right? And it's a
especially
cycle
if you're not going to, and when you start getting that deep into it, he's getting support from his family for school. He's not going to it because of everything compounds and it makes it worse.
and you feel like you can't rely on anybody else,
Yeah.
right? And that's the hard part. And I get that, but for me, like the show itself, outside of like those morals and like the messages right there, the rest of the show just isn't getting it for me, with like the fishing and like the ragtag running away from the debt collectors and this and that. Like I said, like we said, like the one guy that's like taking him in is like, hey, I'll pay off your debts, you'll owe me, problem solved. It's like that guy's the GOAT, right? Let's be honest. He's just a genuine, like, kind-hearted human being who just wants to see someone who's been down on the luck where he might have been at one point in his life, right? Because we don't even know his backstory or why he's working at this shop with all these other people who love fishing, right? So I needed to develop more. While the messages are really good, similar to like Sumo Show, where like the message and the idea is really good, I'm just not enjoying the execution as much as I would hope I would, right? Because it's like this message is such a cool concept of really like deep, like difficult to like express topic, but it's hard. It's not as well like presented, in my opinion. Just with how the show's
you're
gone
not
so far.
hooked yet.
Exactly. You know what? You baited me into that one.
Sean was really casting his line out for that one.
Yeah,
Fish.
but fuck you, Michael.
Got him. Damn
And on that note, I'm done talking about this show.
Austin?
I think it's decent. But like I said, not quite sold on it, and I think there's just a lot of good shows this season. Not like there's a couple great shows. There's a bunch of good shows, and then there's one show I just really don't like.
And then we're gonna
And
get
there's
to-
one show that I think we won't be watching any more of.
Yeah.
But
I think
we'll get there.
I think it's still a toss up.
it's up in the air. Could be anything.
I wasn't like I'm not the biggest fan of the show. I am also like a fishing hater. That is also
Boo! Boo! You stink.
that's also
This
true.
guy
But like
stinks.
while I do recognize like the message.
Next time you're in town, you're coming on the boat, and we're gonna
No,
make
I'm
you sit
not.
down and do
No, I'm
fishing.
not.
That's
I'm
it.
getting kidnapped.
We're
Oh.
kidnapping you, tying you up, throwing you on a boat, and giving you a fishing line, and being like, "Here, silence."
Forget,
I'd
I
rather
bet
do-
you a
I'd rather
brain
face the
cancer.
debt collectors. So like,
Dude, just bring a book. It's great.
yeah, I do like the the message that is sent, and I think that the interactions between Best Boy and Hero are really cool and genuine. I just like can't really get into it. Like in the third episode, like it really feels like too much of like a band-aid like fix to just say, yeah, I'll just pay off everything, it'll be fine. Like I think I wanted it to develop a little bit more and like for him to have like much more interactions with him and the rest of the part-time workers before it got to that point. It just definitely felt like very sudden and too much of just an attempt at a quick fix. I do also I'm not really it's just minor, but I'm not really a big fan of just like the debt collector gripe. It's just nothing specific about it. It's just like okay, it got a little bit stale probably the second time for
I
me,
mean,
but
luckily that
The good-
shouldn't be an issue.
The good
anymore.
news is that this band-aid fix resolves that as well, right? Is the
Yeah.
hope is that, and to me, the implication seems to be that it's not that it's not that they've paid it off. It's that he set him up with the plan structure. They're gonna make payments here, and he's going to help him meet certain payments probably. But like Hero has to work and also put in an effort here for it to fully go through, right? So like in that regard, it's a to me it came off less of like it is jarring to have that like I've got you set now, but it's not really that. It's I'm putting you on the pathway, and I will be here to help keep you on the pathway as long as you accept that, which will be the challenge. Like
But at some point, you got to do it yourself too, right?
Yeah.
Like he has to. He's trying to get him all the resources he needs to take that first step to like
Mhm.
fixing his issues.
The other element we haven't really talked about to me is that I really liked in episode 1 and 2 is when Hero fishes. Because he's so against it. He doesn't really care for it. He doesn't get it. And then he's doing the bait fishing and he's like and he makes the connection between the process of bait fishing and finding a will to live. And it hooks him. No pun intended. God damn it! I actually didn't mean it that time. But like, it gets him into fishing. Like it winds up becoming his reason for why he kind of enjoys it. Is that it's a good escape, right? It's not an escape that doing so is going to have him fall back and worsen, at least in the moment. It's something that he is being provided that he can do that isn't a negative for him. It's a positive. And then you get a little bit more of that, just like as the more he fishes, the more he finds, I don't want to say a will to live, but he finds another way to have an outlet that is helpful to him. And I like the stuff we're getting with Hana and some of the other members of the store. The big thing is we haven't been given enough time to really get a lot of them, right? So, like, I'm hopeful that the longer this goes, the more we'll start to dive into these characters and why they're all here and how they're going to help Hero, while also eventually having to get to the point of, this man's facing a terminal illness that if he doesn't get treatment for, that's it. And
It's only gonna get worse.
it is his choice. And there is also an element of, like, you are in this situation, what is that illness also doing affecting your mental health, right? Like, when you are physically sick and you have a condition, that also can impede on what you're doing, especially if it's tied to your brain. There's just been a couple of visuals I've really liked too, tied to the fishing. It is wild to have this art style and then for Studio Nut to go, and here's a photorealistic fish from Bass Pro Fishing. I do kind of love it.
One thing I really I did appreciate about the show is like the continued theme of like not wanting to accept, like being very increasingly reluctant to accept help, because you know he definitely turns down help from I keep calling him Best Boy because I don't actually I can't ever remember his name.
Takaki.
Takaki.
Tsujito or something.
Like over and over, and like both between Takaki and his family, like he always has the potential to reach out or accept that hand that Takaki's offered, but he just continues to not until the end of the 3rd episode, where you know there's just that like where it's just, you know, that final you know, offer of just, hey, I will help you out, but just it does build up in that way where you know, previously I was talking about how like I thought it was jarring for Takaki to offer that much, but on Hero's end, it built up, you know, continuous refusals of help, you know, not wanting to talk to his family about it because he feels like it is because, you know, he's probably already feeling bad about like having his family help him out with college and stuff, and then going on to continue to refuse help from Takaki because I mean they just met, and I would be skeptical too, right?
I will say,
I really think that like that transition was like actually well done though.
last thing I want to say, while I do get the idea about the debt collector, I also think there's an idea that there's an imagery that comes from it of he's running from the debt, he's running from his problems, and he's really good at it. He's so good at it. He's surprisingly good at running away, because that's all he's been doing this entire time as he's just loaded up all these problems. And in that regard, that like to me that's well done. Whether it's fully intentional or not, I think it is to have the character who the thing he like surprisingly athletic because he's friends so much. He doesn't want to face anything. I really like how that winds up coming together. I'm excited and hopeful for this show. That is more than I feel I can say about our next show. But there are certainly things to say about our next show. Mason, it's time. We're getting there. Our last show of the night, Hagakure, which you, before you start, I'm sorry, which you can watch on Prime Video or on the much more wonderful site YouTube at the It's Anime YouTube channel. I can't believe this.
Which is recommended by a lot of sites to watch it on.
It's literally on Live Chart as the place to go before it got picked up by Prime.
Yep. So Hagakure is a show about our main boy Ichio, who is a Kashi. What Kashi do is they use song and dance to form contracts with gods in this world that is separate from actual Japan. It is different, and I have to make that distinction because we go to actual Japan in the second episode. But basically, he's got these two gods that are under his control currently. We have Tenko, who is definitely not male Rosario vampire,
No.
and Kaka, who is little gremlin child that turns into Monet from Punk Hazard. And we just get kind of an introduction in the first episode that Ichio is known as the worst Kashi. And that's just, everyone keeps saying it. We don't really know why. Until the end of the episode where we find out that he's really fucking good at the dance portion of this whole thing, but he can't sing for shit. So he does Screamo, and how they describe this is how he actually forms contracts is he lures them in with the dance, bashes them over the head with his singing, and then loots the contract, is how they describe it.
I'm proud of you for pulling that out of this show.
I thought this show wasn't that bad.
I
thought it wasn't that bad for episode 1.
We're gonna talk about it.
I enjoyed
we're
episode
gonna
1 a
talk
bit.
about it. Let's
Quite a
keep
bit.
going. Let's keep going.
So the second episode, we follow. So at the end of the first episode, they go, so this world is falling apart because the four perils are these four evil gods that were trapped and sealed, and they were holding up the world. And they escaped. So Ichio's adoptive father, who is a mythical beast named Hakugo, he's a big cat guy. He's just doing it on his own right now. So they say.
But also, he vibing.
He's just vibing.
We'll talk about it.
The second episode follows Ichio and Tenko. Kaka is not here for some reason. I think she stayed with Kisuke Hirahara, whatever the fuck that guy's name is, who shows up in the first episode. The second episode follows them as they get to Japan, because the four perils are apparently in Japan. And they crash land on this island where they worship like a sea god. It has a little shrine, and they get saved by this little boy named Ryu, who supposedly he lives in this house with his sister, and his sister is on this secondary island taking pictures. And we run into this like old woman who's like super nice and takes care of them. Then they walk around, and Ryu lets them into his house. Later that night, it gets stormy, and his sister comes back, and she goes, "What the fuck are you doing in my house?" Turns out, she does not have a brother. We don't know who this child is. He's just kind of there. Apparently, he only shows up when she comes to this island because she's a photographer of the world. Turns out, this boy is actually a Ryu spirit, a Ryujin. Yeah. where he's a thunder god essentially.
Pikachu.
Yeah, he's Pikachu, but like rabbit more than rat. And he lost his horns when he washed up on this island and considers the island goddess to be his big sister. And it turns out that she stole his horns to keep him there, and they get his horns back. And now he's joining the crew. And the third episode. Oh, by the way, notable thing about this, the show makes it seem like this is like samurai era, like Japan for the first episode, and then it's just modern Japan when they get there. It's just a real life, like current day, basically. For some reason, that was an interesting kind of culture shock to get. And then episode 3, we do a flashback that it doesn't tell you is a flashback until like midway through the episode, where
it sets it up because the end of episode 2, it might be a post-credit scene, so you might have missed it legitimately.
fair.
Because you get the Mother of the West.
Yeah, the Queen Mother of the West.
Talking, chilling out with big old Catboy, and the two guys who send him Ishio on his quest, and they establish that there was some reason why her and Ichio haven't resolved their conflict. Also, there is a guy who's really good friends with her who won't come see her, because of her position as Mother of the West. And then the end credit scene where they do the little educational bit, if you can call it that, they talk about how perhaps we will find out more about that. And they do a scene at the end of episode 2 where they show what she looks like as a kid talking to Ichio. So when episode 3 starts and you see her as a kid, you're supposed to know it's a flashback.
I did not get that scene. So.
Exactly. That was yeah. Continue.
Yeah. So this follows in the other world. There is a town where it's just anyone who doesn't have a family. Just it's a whole community family here. Like there's an orphanage and like a whole bunch of orphans live here. A lot of widows. A lot of like people that have just been lost by the world just kind of get here and are taken care of by each other. And also, the world is was formerly run by this group called the Eight Immortals, who are immortal. We follow who is the character who is going to be the Queen Mother of the West. I don't remember their original name.
Haku Shuren.
Yeah, Haku Shuren. Thank you.
She's not listed on the main character page on Mal. You have to go deeper to find her.
So Haku Shuren is like hanging out, is friends with this older boy, whose father is one of the Eight Immortals, and his mom's real sick, and he's real mad about his dad for not coming. And Haku Shuren's like, but he is one of the Eight Immortals, so he's probably really busy. And then his mom gets real sick and is like about to die, and he tries to go to where his father is at. He bangs on the door of this like temple and goes, "Hey guys, my mom's fucking dying. It's one of the Eight Immortals' wives. Can you give him a message?" And this beast man, who is one of the Eight Immortals as well, goes, "Nah, I'm not gonna do that. Get out of here, kid. Bye." And his mom dies. He then, the next morning, his dad comes in where his mom is being mourned by her son, and the son like freaks out and goes, "Hey, what the fuck are you doing here? You shouldn't be here now. You wouldn't come when she was dying." And his dad goes, "Cool, I'm not here for you. Hey, Haku Shuren, you're gonna take over the Queen Mother of the West's position because she got murdered." And then kidnaps this child. And Haku Shuren really doesn't like it here. Is told what to do, when to do it, all this fun stuff, and ends up one night is just like falls down crying as they're walking around and runs into Ichio, who's just kind of vibing, breaking into this temple because his master's here as a guard. And talks with Haku Shuren and makes like a little like tries to get them to feel better. Ends up making some sort of vow with them that I do not remember. That's like basically what happens in that episode.
Hakushurin has showed that one of the four perils exists in the realm
Oh yeah,
and has had their leg chopped off, and it is a giant piece of structure, but also has grown back, and they are a hot man.
yes, Catboy Man. So I fully acknowledge that the show is not great.
I don't think the show's bad.
I don't think it's bad. I think there are worse things on this podcast right now, is my thought. I understand I don't know if you agree with me on that, but I think the show has enough interesting things world building wise. Also, I really enjoy Ichio and Tenko. They're wonderful. There's certainly some not great things about this show, but I think there's enough like good stuff going for it that I really enjoy, that I don't want to vote it just quite yet, is my thought.
I do fuck with the art style.
Yeah,
Not gonna lie.
Yeah, the art style's neat. Also, opening by Mad Kid.
this is the most 2008 show I've ever seen.
Yes, this is the most like I would see this shit on Cartoon Network, like on Toonami.
This is a me poll. But perhaps no one here even knows what I'm talking about. The show that this made me think about was Tokyo Majin, which is a 2007 Exorcist show. It has roughly the same kind of vibe going on. It has an equally based OP that feels oddly out of place, and a lot of shit goes on. And you just gotta absorb key information when it is relevant to you. Does anyone else want to talk about this before I get into things? Because I'm gonna have a fair amount to say.
So episode 1, we get the stuff with bad with names. As you may have noticed, every time I said a name outside of when I was looking at a character name list, I've said him and her.
Tenko, Ichio, Kaka,
Character from Rosario Vampire. That one.
Tenko.
Tenko stuff in episode 1 really neat. I like that kind of thing you could do with a character where it's a character who is a dingus who has the other side to them, which we get a little bit more in episode 2 because we see the bead breaking.
Is the idea that he has multiple sides? Because it's different in episode 2, right? It's not the same as the one in episode 1?
I think it is the same.
I thought the hair color was like a light blue, and now it's pure white.
No, I'm
It's
pretty sure it was
pure
white in the
white.
first one
I
too.
think it was just
It's the lighting.
Because
lighting
that's
on the
that's
site.
why I
Okay.
made such a strong comparison to the Rosario Vampire one, 'cause that's
Okay.
exactly what Mocha's does. It's that exact same color set. I thought that was neat. Episode 2, I think episode 2 kind of said in that this felt like this is a thing I would see on Cartoon Network. But my issue with that is like it feels like Pokemon kind of thing I'd see on Cartoon Network, where 90% of the episodes feels like nothing comes out. Obviously, we get the Raijin, and then episode 3 is a flashback, and I'm like, okay, so we got a new member of the group, and we're gonna spend an episode with them not there. That's an odd thing to do. Also, the flashback was like, oh, it's like, oh boy, his dad's a terrible person. Oh boy, his dad's a terrible person. Wow, that's so crazy. His dad's a terrible person. That's what like 80% of the flashback was just this kid's dad being the absolute fucking worst, but in like the most predictable bad dad in an anime ever kind of thing, where it's like you're letting mom die, and he goes, okay.
It's also supposed to set up for why Hakushirin and Ichio have like some kind of strife between them, and we don't get it. So why? You've given me like it gives you a lot of world building for like the structure of the four perils. I get that. Why? I like the segue into this is because it wants to give you the connection between Hakushirin and Ichio, and Ichio, and you don't get it. And we're not out of the flashback yet, because we're gonna flash back in a flashback to how Ichigo and Tenko met. Which, while I am very interested in that, I agree with Michael. My biggest gripe with this show is you introduce a lot of cool shit that I'm interested in, and then we don't address it or talk about it in the immediate next episode. So episode 1, we get the entire premise of what he does. And then in episode 2, we don't even get to see it. Because they're worried about him doing it causing a problem for the Raijin. But then they cut out the other guy doing it, so you don't even get to see the thing they do when they do it. It's a god spirit collecting show. We don't get to see the actual, like, musical dance performance about collecting it. That's weird. You have
just cut, and then it has like funny animation, and it's like, he's saying profanities and yelling at them. No, he's just singing really poorly. Oh, okay. Thanks for clearing that up. I would have preferred, like you're saying, it's like I would prefer them to do, like, remember in Dungeon Meshi when they're walking through and there's the water thing singing, and Lyos just starts singing the song and it's so bad they stop singing. Just show me that. Let him just sing poorly.
I'm fine with the translation. I'm fine with with like the idea being that a proper ceremonial song being sung poorly is heavy metal. I think that's a fun gag. I think that's cool. I wish we did
really
more
fun
with
bit.
it. Like we
Yeah,
have 3 episodes in and we haven't touched it. The concept of these like spirits these godlike spirits he controls is really interesting. The one you introduce in episode 1, Kaka, who I think is an actual kind of enjoyable character to have, is not allowed to be here because we're introducing another small enjoyable character that I think I will like if I get more time with Ryu. But am I gonna get more I can't trust this show to give me things because it sets something up, and like I don't like being dropped into the adventure, like setting you off the sail at the end of episode 1, dropping you in for episode 2, and then pulling you out to give you more world building. It's weird. It isn't structured in a way that I think is conducive to a good storytelling for me. It's also a lot. It's a lot. And I'm a guy who's good at a lot. So you got 4 rulers for each direction. You got 4 perils, not for each direction, but that need to be brought back. They talk like all 4 are missing, but one's actually there. And they talk to Ichigo like he needs to go get all 4, but he also knows that he also does indeed know that one of them is there, so he knows he only needs 3. So why were we touting it like there's 4, and we need to go get 4, when everybody involved knows there's actually 3? You're setting up a twist for an episode two steps down the line that you don't need to do. So, like, I like the things that are here. I'm not entirely captivated by Ichigo yet. I don't have a strong interest in Tenko myself, to be invested in. And the spirits I am invested in, I'm not confident they're going to be around. For me, the other line is I'm willing to give, like, Yakuza's not too much better than this, but I at least feel like it has a structural flow that I can sit down and watch and I can ride with. For me, I have something that I am really invested in Grieving Soul. That's where those bottom 3 differ for me. I think all 3 of those shows for me are in a spot where if any of them went, I wouldn't be upset. And they definitely, whichever one doesn't go tonight has a lot of work it has to do to get itself away from the chopping block for the next week or the week after for me. This for me is just, I was surprised by how everywhere I went with this 3-episode show. I watched episode 1, went, cool, I'm excited to see if it gives me more and hooks me. And by the end of 3 episodes, I went, what? And that's where I wound up. It's a show.
can definitely say it is a show.
It is one of the shows of all time.
I don't know
The
if-
show is just very mediocre in a lot of its things for me, and I think that's kind of it. Didn't have like any like super standout great moments, and I think that's why it just kind of fell to the bottom.
But
I
I'll
don't know.
give you it, Mason. I think it's cool. I like there is stuff I am interested in. Oh, yeah, I don't think the show's bad for me. I like it. It's just there are problems. Also, I don't know if you have anything else you want to say.
Not particularly. I'm going to be honest. When I was watching this, I got completely lost, and I just like instead of like going back to like check in, I just kind of committed to it and then continued to get more lost. So
Right.
I just left it as is.
I'm just saying it's a good thing it was on YouTube because the speed functions are much easier to manage on those than on other sites. So
we gotta lock you
But
into Prime
much
if it
easier to
does.
get
If it
through.
doesn't go, we gotta lock you in for Prime. If this show doesn't go, I will
it's
draft up. I will
okay.
draft up a handy Illustrator guide for you guys, so you can understand that there are 4 rulers. And underneath those 4 rulers are eight divine immortals, and they're fighting against 4 perils, who are trapped in 4 pillars. But don't worry about that. That's completely untied. That the perils are tied to pillars.
But also, we have one of the perils that is also
Yes.
the pillar, and he's here.
And
but
he
we need
lost a
all
leg, but he
4.
has a leg.
No, but you understand, we need all 4 specifically, or else. the
Yeah,
world
or else
will
Tiger,
explode.
Tiger Man will die because he can't
Um,
keep holding up these 4 pillars.
Sean,
Tiger
I'm
Man
so
kinda
glad you were
base.
willing
Looks
to
like a
put in
homie.
all of that work for my show that I picked on a whim as a joke for the wheel.
Hey man, I'm committed to fantasy, and fantasy that
Sean
have and
is the
fantasy that
fantasy guy,
it
so-
can't. It isn't a true fantasy if it doesn't have the dreaded proper noun,
True.
and this show has proper nouns. I didn't even talk about it. I actually like the structure and story of episode 2 a lot. Again, it's just there are odd things that detract from it.
I'm also very confused as to why we're adding a new member to the group at episode 2.
Well, because you're collecting. It's a
But, like-
monster collector too. Except for Gyoki, you don't get the big cow man because that would be too rad. He's too powerful. Instead, you have a wind demon, who's also too powerful, and Ted Girl, who's also too powerful. He's Moses. But moody. He's Moody Moses.
My name is meant to be that way, by the way.
Okay, I don't know what that means yet. I'll find out.
Oh boy.
What is this? Austin's gonna I hate you guys. I really do.
Why?
Austin,
Why?
Austin, you'll eventually have to tune into the meta. There's a
Oh.
meta here that I don't know what it is. It's fish this week, I guess. Mason, if
We all put fish.
Mason, if I open this link and it leads me to a singing Big Bass video, I'm
No.
gonna kill you.
Oh no.
It doesn't. I can tell you it
Damn,
doesn't.
I should have done that.
It's
So
fair.
let's
So-
let's
Oh, damn, that would have been so
it's
funny.
so ladies and gentlemen, it's been a while. Here's the reminder. I should adjust this.
You guys know Sword Art Online got cleared this week?
I did, yeah, I did see that.
They're like
The
updating
servers
it.
are all sitting down. Akihiko Kaiba has been caught or whatever.
So, structure wise,
narrating it real time, like as it would have happened, to clear it on the exact time that it did in the show.
so we have our shows or votes in. Again, we vote to save, we vote to slay. The show with the most slays goes. If there is a tie, we will bring a wheel. And as tradition, I will run through the shows that have no slays. Dandadan, Blue Box, Do Over Damsel, All Guys Mixer, Orb. Shows
Orb.
that I'm gonna do it every time. Shows that have one slay. Sumo Mecha Ude. Shows that have two slays. Grieving Soul, Yakuza Fiance, Negative Positive Angler. The next result, a show that has all slays, Haigakure. It happens. Usually the first one is concrete, or it's a wheel, and then the show that doesn't go survives for too many weeks.
It survives until fucking week 4, until like number 4 or number 3.
Yatagarasu, don't put disrespect
Yeah, I know.
on that name.
He forgot.
No, I did remember. I was trying to make a more general thing for other shows, and not specifically mention Yatagarasu getting to 3 there.
It's still so funny.
Sometimes your back arrow, though. That too. Sometimes your back is an arrow.
Sometimes you're a Byakiero.
But that clears us up for what is probably going to be our longest podcast of the season, clocking in at just over 3.5 hours. Yay!
There were
This
too
is
many
Put it this way.
minutes.
this is
I
why
managed to watch the entire Lions game
Yeah.
during the podcast, and we still took longer.
this is why I said we should do tonight and not last night, where we would have started at 10:30, maybe, probably
Or
11.
probably closer to 11.
Yeah, which means we would have been live until checks notes 2:30 in the morning. We love it. So we'll be watching episode 4s. We will not go beyond episode 4s, even though it might kill us to not do so. We will have 10 shows next week. You know what they are. I'm not repeating them. Yeah, and that's gonna be that. When will we stream next week? We'll have to consult the orb that is John's work schedule.
Fun fact: I'm switching jobs this week. I finally have my new
Let's
job
go.
starting on
Ah.
Thursday. Yeah, and I didn't get a chance to say news. So my last day at my current job is on Tuesday, and so I will be on morning shift and daytime schedule for about a month
Oh,
and a half. while I
man!
orient.
Let's go.
I'm gonna die.
Yeah, that's
She also starts job next week. We're
Let's
gonna
go.
die.
It'll be fine.
so John.
Die.
John, you're saying Tuesday your job ends, and on Wednesday Oshinoko ends.
Yeah. And then on Thursday I'll end myself afterward. No. Read Oshinoko, please. It's really good. You guys should catch up so we can talk about it because it's fucking
I am caught up.
wild. It was really good.
I am caught up. I thought last
la-
week's
the last,
chapter was
like-
the last chapter because
The last like 6 chapters have been fucking awesome.
I totally thought that last week was the last one. I was like,
I
wait, hold
swore
on.
Also,
I
go
swore I
Lions.
read
Jake
it,
Bates is
and
my
nope.
fucking hero.
Master.
But I'm gonna make an assumption that we don't want to talk anymore, and I'm gonna say we're calling it for the night, and we'll do catch up on what we've been up to later next week when we have a little less things to talk about, and recaps are shorter because they're one episode. But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed the new layout, the new people, the new season. We'll see you next.